We will see. I think we're live at the right place. So hopefully we're live on the right link, everyone. If so, hello. Welcome to another installment of the Bad Batch commentary. Today we're talking about season 2, episodes 12 through 14. I personally liked all of these episodes, actually, I have to say.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's great. I've been away for an episode of us, so I didn't hear any of the reactions of the last episodes. But no, these were
Oh,
fine. I was just discussing this with my dad. I think Crosshair got all the good episodes, like really good episodes this season. Because I think the middle one, what was it, episode 13? I was just kind of, well, that happened. And then it made sense later. Like, it made a little bit more sense to me later. Like, oh, okay, they got to be on the thing so that they can go to the place. And, I get it now. But I think...
Well, I think, yeah, Justin, I agree with you because I feel like Crosshair is the only storyline that I kind of care about.
I mean, his is the main one that I care about.
Yeah. No, and
I
getting that.
Yeah.
It's just, no, I'm with you.
We've seemingly not abandoned, but the whole Omega Discovery arc from last season, where she's discovering that, she was the Omega clone to Boba Fett's Alpha, and there was some significance of her genesis. I feel like we haven't picked up any of that again.
I disagree. I feel like I feel like in episode 11 and 14, we've got hints. Not necessarily of...
What hints did we get?
Well, just of Omega's import, just the fact that they want Omega. I mean, it's definitely like a tiny little breadcrumb, but there is at least some... it's now part of the story, at least, that they want to get Omega, that Omega, specifically Omega, is related to why because they haven't said why she's important.
No, I'm sure it is related. I guess what I mean is so far this season, we haven't uncovered any more information about that. It's yes, you're right. They have reinforced that the Empire deems her important in the most general sense.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm like, and I'm sure they're going to. I guess what's funny is this episode 14, I would say to me, is what I've wanted every episode of the season to be. And it was so different from every other episode in the season because it gave us Echo's storyline, it gave us the Bad Batch's storyline, and it gave us Crosshair's storyline all in one episode, and it flashed between them. And I'm almost certain that we definitely haven't seen an episode that has been as all-inclusive of all three storylines. It's usually a contained storyline, and it's a contained adventure. And to me, I just have, short attention span, but I'm always more interested in TV shows that when there are concurrent storylines that they're catching us up on them every episode and flashing between them. And that's a more standard format of show that I'm used to in other types of television. Like Breaking Bad does that a lot, right? Or a show like Breaking Bad, like another dramatic show where there's antagonists, there's side characters, etc. You're kind of being caught up on all the storylines as we go, as opposed to a contained bottle episode, right? And I feel like this season has had a lot of bottle episodes of just little adventures of the Batch or a Crosshair episode, etc. And sometimes I find myself watching those episodes for 25 minutes in a row and just being like, oh man, I really want to know what Crosshair's up to instead of watching this right now. Or, oh man, you know what I mean? So I think 14, I was like, this is awesome. I'm getting to see Crosshair, and I get to see how it relates to the Batch, and I get to see what Echo is doing. And I was like, why haven't they just told the story this way the entire season? I'd be so much more excited.
Totally.
Interesting.
I see what you're saying, and I kind of like the bottle episodes, but in what you're saying, James, I wish they would have transitioned into this format earlier. Like maybe
Yeah.
the first 3 or 4 being these like, oh, here's the batch and their situation. Here's this. Oh, here's the special Crosshair episode. What's he up to? What stuff like that.
Yes.
And then start to kind of like phase it in more.
Yeah, or pepper these, or like have more of these types of episodes and pepper in the isolated adventures on a less regular basis. But I guess for me, and this is just me, like, but when there's those little contained Bad Batch episodes that seemingly are just like the adventure of the week, and like that's just all it is, in many ways, like. I can see it coming within the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh, this is just going to be them on this planet doing an adventure. So I guess I just better buckle in and get invested in this little Indiana Jones adventure we're going to go on right now. Even though I know it won't necessarily link into the overarching, or if it will very, maybe you just have one little thing that happens in that episode that's going to connect us to the overarching plot. But we kind of talked about this last stream, and a lot of folks are like, that's just kind of what this show is. So, either like it or don't, and so, so that's just kind of been my reaction to it. And so I guess it's funny is like Xanthe, to answer your question, like these 3 episodes have been my 3 favorite. Oh no, excuse me. 12 and 14 have been my 2 favorite episodes of this season.
Even though 12
Easily.
kind of was a bottle episode.
Yeah, but I think the drought of Crosshair content, like in this show, has made me just like, I was like, finally, we're getting him in this show, like, and getting some real attention given to him. I was like, great. Give me all the Crosshair that you can give me this week, because I've wanted to see him for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm sensitive to the bottle episode thing, but I think there have been episodes this season that I haven't felt were that very consequential for me. Episode 13 almost felt that way to me, especially when the tsunami or whatever was happening. I was like, of course we're going to have another natural thing. But you know what? Honestly, I was like, at least it's not just a giant beast.
Monster, right?
At
A
least we're not doing a monster. Like,
least we're not
thank God.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, I just felt with episode 13 was a little bit of the definition of like this meeting could have been an email. Like we could have like gotten to the island, this island planet, this great is it Pabu, and like that they're there.
Well, what do you think? What do you think would have been cut?
The tsunami.
Oh, the whole
portion, like more of that establishing of why they like it, and then they need to. It's like it wasn't. It was kind of like again, like joking with I watched these episodes with my dad who's in San Diego. We like press play at the same time, kind of a thing, and we were joking like, so the Bad Batch shows up. And there's a tsunami. Is it their fault? Like,
yeah, right.
They go everywhere they go. They just, something bad luck happens to them. To the bad luck. For
was
the point
of was the point of the tsunami is like to give them a reason for staying? Like they're there to help them out now. Like
yeah, I think so.
Help them repair. Is that the point of that?
I think they were leading towards that anyways when they were having a good time.
Yeah, but I think they like to have a purpose other than, we like it, so we're just going to chill and eat nice feasts. Justin, your gain can go up.
Okay.
I think the whole... I really liked Fee in this, in that episode. Or I liked the clarification on some of their relationships with the various people. Like, we got more clarification on Sid. They, in fact, are... confirmed they are ghosting Sid. And then we get to see Fee introduce them to Pabu, which shows that they are actually kind of special to her. She actually does trust them. They're not just one of her random friends. She hasn't even taken Sid there. And there's more, focus on what Omega needs and, getting, seeing her smile and be with another kid and everything. And so I felt like character development wise, a lot actually did happen in that episode. yeah, and I think they're starting to wrestle with like, oh, maybe we should settle down. Maybe that wouldn't be horrible.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
And
what
then,
else
you
are
know,
we gonna
Omega
do?
is also like, I grew up around water. Well, she said by the ocean, but it wasn't, but it wasn't like this. So yeah, just a lot of,
That'll make it into every episode somehow. That reference will make it into every of our episodes. Well,
hey,
that and what is it? The fun, the new shipment of Tech and Fee. Everyone,
yeah, the new shipment.
the,
Yeah,
the new shipment of Tech and Fee. Of
for
just
sure.
Like,
Oh,
what?
Totally, totally.
It's like,
Yeah.
what? Where did
Yeah,
this
that's-
come from?
When
Sure.
Tech,
Really?
oh, I felt
Why
it as
not?
soon as Tech said, I was thinking we could stay too or whatever.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she's like,
no, no.
so I was like, oh,
We saw the
Yeah.
gleam in those goggles.
yeah,
That's nice.
We saw that.
Yeah, I mean, they're really. I guess I didn't see this coming, but it seems like the introduction of Feet's character is to kind of take over for Sid in terms of their like contact or whatever, like at their home base, right? It's almost like they're like moving away from doing these bounties and doing something a little bit more noble. And I think they're kind of setting maybe their Pabu up or something to like provide the batch with like an out from this whole struggle, maybe. Like I feel like maybe they're setting Pabu up to be like where they ultimately end up. Like once, I mean, because the elephant in the room of this series is they have to figure out like why we don't see them hanging out with like Rex and all the other clones in Rebels, and they don't end up fighting for the rebellion, or at least hypothetically they don't, because you'd think that they would be involved with that whole struggle and we'd see them more.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so we have to figure out like why don't we see any of these characters throughout the original trilogy? And the answer is probably they decide to like, you know, kind of either settle down or they end up perishing, unfortunately.
Or they continue to be on the run before that
Right.
happens. I have a feeling.
or they
like,
work kind of rogue.
They work rogue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
mean,
so. Yeah.
I'm seeing this comment by the Masked Jedi. I just hope Crosshair doesn't save someone and then die immediately, as
Right.
Star Wars villains tend to do. And now I'm kind of saying, well, okay, and that kind of predictability too. That's making me think we're establishing Pabu as this like nice place, and then it's gonna get destroyed because someone's gonna lead somebody somewhere, and they're gonna that's gonna lead us into season 3 because they can't stay there, and you know, we gotta keep them moving.
And then Alf-G says, hi, all these Bad Batch episodes are really good. Still not sure if I want to see Crosshair redeemed.
Well, in some ways, he might be redeemed enough already. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he might maybe not make a full transformation and full redemption arc, and he's like reaccepted in the Bad Batch. But in some ways, he hasn't gone full Anakin Skywalker, you know, or full Darth Vader, right? He's like, he kind of redeemed him. He didn't fully redeem himself, but he redeemed himself enough where maybe it could go down easy, you know, because he stuck up for the clones.
But I think redemption
is
is in the eye of the beholder too. So
Yeah, of course. But yeah, he's definitely like he's questioning the Empire. He's questioning the motives. He's questioning what he's doing. And even despite all of his feelings and all the crap he's gone through, he still would not and will not give up Omega and the rest of his
Yeah,
team.
right.
He just won't do it. Maybe it's like good shoulders follow orders, but you know, friends don't rat.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. But you know,
I
no
think
one's a rat kind
the death of Mayday
yeah.
did that to him.
Yeah, he saw how brutal the Empire's treating.
100%. Yeah,
brothers,
I mean,
and-
and just seeing that other gear, you know, too, and like
Yeah.
that's being directed towards these other folks. He's just realizing how discarded the clones are being.
Yeah, I don't think Crosshair necessarily cares about his batch as much as now he just like hates the Empire, or he's growing to hate them.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, I think it would be. I think it's complicated to say.
for sure.
To say for that he like cares about the Bad Batch, but I think he definitely. There's many opportunities he has in that episode, and continuing into the 14th episode for him to divulge information that would jeopardize them, and he doesn't. Like even when the other clones ask him what happened to your old group, he could have said they all defected. Remember when he's in the cave and he's being asked what unit were you, and he's like Clone Force 99, and they're like, what happened to them? And he's like, they're gone. Right? He could have easily gone into it and been like, they defected, they're traitors, but he's still like protective over them, and so I do think he does care about them in his own way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in his own way, or at least care about like the hit the code of what it means to be. He sides with them. I think he's siding with them like philosophically, or on whatever it's called. Yeah. When you like do something out of the ethics of it, that's not the right word. I can't think of the word.
I get it though. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Respect, ethics, the
principle of it.
morality
On
of it,
principle.
yeah.
Doing it on principle.
principle.
That's what I meant. Maybe the Bad Batch hangs out with Ahsoka during the OT time.
Well, isn't Ahsoka trapped on that temple in Rebels throughout the entire original trilogy? Isn't that where she is the whole time?
I don't know, honestly.
Oh, that's
I
right.
really-
Because she like comes back from.
She goes into that temple to fight Darth Vader, right?
Yeah,
In Rebels, and doesn't the whole thing come down on her, and she doesn't have a way? She doesn't have a ship to get off the planet, and that's like where she is during the original trilogy.
The whole time? She just stayed there the whole time? I mean, you might be right.
I thought that was the implication, because otherwise, why wouldn't she be involved with the rebellion? Like, why wouldn't she be involved with that whole fight? Right? I mean, she helps out the rebels during all of Rebels. I thought that was the implication. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'd love to.
What's the timeline of Rebels again?
It's like right before Rogue One, so it's
Okay, but she gets out at Rebels, so maybe she comes out. I think she just runs.
But she doesn't get out of that temple. She Ezra pulls her through the world beyond worlds, right?
Yes.
And then puts her back in the temple, because at the end of that Darth Vader episode, they show Darth Vader emerging from the rubble, and then they also cut to then they also move to Ahsoka, like going deeper down into the temple. So I'm pretty sure she doesn't have a ship or anything to get off of that Sith planet. I'm pretty sure the implication is that she's just there throughout the whole original trilogy. I am so curious about this actual answer, so I'd love for somebody to Star Wars fact check me on that. But I'm pretty sure that's what she's doing.
I must have missed that one.
I never thought that. But, I mean, I don't know the answer. I mean, it is hard. It is difficult now in filling in gaps in the timeline, just kind of having the Star Wars creators story group having to figure out where these loose ends have been throughout.
Or maybe she's looking. Maybe she's. I guess I'm looking it up. It says it hasn't really been explained, but it's either implicated that she is either looking for Ezra, or she was stranded on Malachor until after Endor. So
interesting. All right. Well, episode 12, The Outpost. This started with like that. We heard a lot of that like familiar Crosshair type of theme in this episode. Also, lots of like wind sound.
Yeah. Okay, so that is like the Crosshair theme. That's what I remember. The da 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 da. Right.
Yeah.
Kind of does its thing.
Sorry.
Right. There was a lot of it. You're right.
Lots of it.
And speaking,
a lot of French
speaking
horn.
A lot of French horn. A lot of these like glassy pads. What I mean by like kind of smooth, hollow, but got a shine to them, in a weird way. all throughout, which is like kind of a classic. For those who love old video games, the ice temple or the water temple kind of a thing. Um, and speaking about classic, what I liked was how the episode opened. Like, it starts with, the Empire. He's having that conversation. The lieutenant's having that conversation with Crosshair. He's like, I don't like used goods. I'm just going to be openly, a jerk in his face. The moment he said that, I'm like, you're going to die. You're not surviving this episode. Moment he said that, I was like, we know you're not surviving this episode. But what was cool though is that we got like very classically imperial John Williams-y styled orchestral bum bum ba-da-dum digga-da-digga-da-dun digga-da-digga-da-dun. That I always label it as the John Williams fanfare, which is just a digga-da-da-dun digga-da-digga-da-dun digga-da, just the trumpets
like,
that do these like little blasts here and
yeah,
there kind
it's
of a
like
thing.
the offbeats. Yeah, it's like the offbeat triplets and stuff.
Yeah, and it opened with that, and then it just immediately, like the moment we hit the planet, just goes like the tone just shoo, ice planet kind of sound.
Yeah.
And I'm sure James, you noticed was the tam tams as they enter. Like there's just this classic like of tam, like we have entered the temple kind of. I don't know. It just gave me video game vibes, like a lot of like old video game. Yeah.
Very vast
kinda,
sounding.
Exactly.
And I loved the music and the environment. It really just shows off this kind of like it's okay. I just want to it's interesting because we as a species that only reside on one planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the way that we experience remoteness, or that we like internalize remoteness, like excuse me, not internalize, but like identify remoteness, is by being like showing us like something out in the middle of nowhere, right? And like in the middle of like there's like a tundra. There's not a lot of vegetation around. Even there's not a lot of animals around. There's definitely no people around, right? And I find that, it's interesting when you have that same implication in a galaxy-wide civilization, right? Which is like, what does a remote planet mean? Oh, here we go. So like this is the way that this outpost is being displayed is that it's on some remote planet, and it's like off the beaten path, and these clones that are stationed there are kind of by themselves in the middle of nowhere, and they are seemingly becoming more and more disconnected from like what their even purpose is, right? Yeah. And that's a very, I love that they're showing that. I mean, that's something that happens in a stationed like military occupational force. Like some people just end up there for years and years and years, just being in some location as a presence, just for the sake of being a presence, and that removal of the purpose becomes something that can cause these types of like situations where the clones are kind of like feeling dejected and feeling, like, why am I even here? Anyway, I just find it funny that in a galaxy, they have to find some way of showing us that this planet is like removed, but you can't really do that other than making it be in the middle of on a planet that is a tundra. You know what I mean? Like, because on Earth, that's the way you would show that. So like the actual planet, environment on the planet has to also look remote in and of itself, But regardless, I loved it because I love I just love the environment. It just really showed like they're all in the middle of the shack, in the middle of nowhere, and they're just like, "What? We've been waiting for you guys. What are we doing here?" You could just see like how could these clones react any other way than just feeling dejected, feeling like they're losing their purpose and they're losing the mission and they're losing the plot of what they're doing there, So.
Yeah.
Hi, Ziggy.
Hello to the kitty in frame.
Yeah.
it reminds me also just like of sending people to like, yeah, I don't know, the spice mines of Kessel. It's like
Yes.
just somewhere, middle of nowhere. Well, like
Yeah.
they're not as useful anymore. They don't really care. They're phasing them out. Like when you get that kind of assignment, I feel like that you're kind of, that you're not A team or even B team anymore. You,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And the environmental sound of like what is isolated is always interesting and different, and somehow always involves like wind.
Wind.
yeah,
I
wind.
feel like, and there's, it's. I guess maybe except for like when it's no, you'll get like a sandstorm in the desert kind of a thing. If it's like an isolated desert, you'll get
Anyway.
right. Not that sandstorm. But it's yeah, just a lot of wind and like hollow wind and stuff like that. Sound design, just like from personal experience, sound designing wind is so much fun, in a weird way, because it's chaotic, it's weird, and just the concept of like noise, a white noise specifically, and how it can be shaped to represent so many things is, I don't know, anytime I see or hear those things, I like kind of like imagine in my head the process of what they're doing to that white noise. I mean, if we want to be like, so for those listening, white noise is the classic sound kind of a thing. It's your
Yeah.
TVs, the gray noise, it's the whatever, you have the white noise machine kind of a thing. If we want to be hyper nerdy about it, it's every frequency at every amplitude at all times kind of
Yeah.
a thing at
It's
random.
sort of similar to like how white light is like,
Yeah.
and then you can see certain colors, you can, whatever. It's kind of different mechanism, but
Exactly. And you could, I mean, hold on, I'll just play. The noise goes here, you put the thing here, and then there. Is that coming through?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's just plain old white noise. And what's cool is that it could be the ocean, it could be leaves in the wind, it could be an airplane, it could be all sorts of things. Just by, hold on, if I take this out, take that out, filtering. Put that in, no, hold on. Do that there. This goes here maybe. This goes here. Ugh. Okay. Yeah. Something low. And you almost got ocean surf.
So why don't you describe what you're tweaking?
So what I'm tweaking is the filter. The filtering process. On a filter will take away and highlight certain frequencies in a sound. It could be any sound. The classic way of doing it, and you could do this at home, kids, is your mouth is the filter for your vocal cords, which creates the timbre of your voice and language as we know it, which is just to me. But the classic filter sound is you start with E and go to oo and slide. Ew, that's like a filter basically. Yep. Or if you like dubstep, wah 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 wah. That's always a filtering kind of a thing. So white noise being filtered low, only low frequencies coming through. You get this like nice kitty sound in the background. No, you get almost like ocean surf, and if you kind of move it around,
That's so cool.
Right? If you cut away all the low frequencies and just have the high ones, it's like wind in the trees. Kind of a thing. If you cut out all the high frequencies, it's a little spookier. But if you put up something called the resonance, you actually start to hear a pitch.
Yeah.
And if you put it around there, the inside of an airplane to me.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that when you cut out the high frequencies, it sounds more like when you're listening to wind from inside a house.
Totally.
Because usually the high frequencies are the ones that don't resonate as easily through surfaces, right, or through walls, right?
Exactly.
So when you're inside a house or an airplane, when you're hearing wind, you're usually hearing just the low end because the highs get blocked out.
Absolutely, it's the same effect. It's the same effect. Like I'll use this example for my students sometimes. Is a low pass filter, which only allows the low frequencies, just like James is describing right now, is kind of like those movie scenes where they're going to a club and they hear the music through the walls and it's just and then the door opens. It's like kind of thing. Like everyone's dancing at that point. Like or sometimes like they'll use it for underwater a little bit kind of thing. It's like, oh look, now we're underwater because high frequencies can't travel the same. Sound is a physical force and it's awesome and natural and organic and fascinating and it's just the coolest thing in the world, and that's why we do this. So yeah, wind sounds are super fun to make, and then white noise machines that like all it is just someone in different capacities. You could put something. We've talked about LFOs before, like
Yeah.
a low moving shape. So you can put an LFO on it. You can do multiple points. You can do all these things. So yeah,
But it's cool to think of it as the chiseling of this white noise. Like you start with this block of cement or whatever people make stuff out of, and then you're crafting the sound out of it by like chiseling little points from it, or just like turning it around, and just like. But you're starting with like that raw, just like noise that.
Just everything all at once. And if you really think about it, this is my hot take on sound and listening and music. Everything is just filtered white noise, just with very incredibly extreme filters and envelopes. But
sure, you could think of it that way. Sure.
Yeah, that's where my mind goes at 3:00 in the morning. So lots of anyways. Point is, lots of incredible white noise wind sounds, and I'm sure they're like. They have the budget to go sample. Like I'm sure they have a wind library or a wind generating algorithm at this point. Whether it's in the Highlands or whether it's we heard a lot of that in the Andor show too when they were on Space Scotland, and you just had all the wind going through the grass and the trees and stuff like that. It just becomes this great blanket of sound, like traffic, in a weird way from a distance.
Yeah.
Just this blanket in the background. So lots of good stuff there.
I love
and
it.
Icy, like snow. Snow's physical. That's what's fascinating too. Snow has a crackle to it. Have you ever just?
What do you mean
listened?
crackle?
So like snow itself has a sound. Whether you're
You
crunching
mean when
in
it's
it,
snowing, or do you mean when you're doing something
Oh
to
yeah,
snow?
when it's snowing, when it's hitting the ground, when it's kind of like melting on itself, it almost sounds like fire crackle.
Wait, question
Really,
for chat and for everyone here. Have you experienced in real life when it's snowing? I don't think I have. Maybe if I have very briefly, maybe once. I don't have a clear image in my head of what it's like to be in the snow.
It snowed at CalArts the other day.
I'm so
weird.
sorry to hear that, Xanthe. So I'm from upstate New York. Near Buffalo, which is that place where you see on the Weather Channel, and they cut to a person and there's snow moving sideways. Okay.
What?
And the person is like hanging on for dear life to their microphone, screaming into it, trying to tell you what is happening. That is where I grew up. So yeah, I've seen snow a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
You grew up surrounded by water.
Oh no.
Frozen.
I grew up around the frozen.
The frozen water.
Frozen water.
Okay, but do you remember what it sounds like?
Well, it depends on. I mean, when you have Yeah, it depends on, if you listen really, really carefully when you're outside, you can hear little tiny sprinkles of snow falling on icy surfaces. But you
What?
can't like hear it from inside your house. It's
Yeah,
like,
no, you can't. It's not like deafening.
what I
at all.
remember
It's
is a lot of
very
times of
quiet.
being out in the middle of my yard in the like sitting in 3 feet of snow. Everything is completely covered in snow, and just like laying in the silence, and you hear the wind, and you hear snowflakes falling, and you hear, the sounds of your boots and hands moving and crunching in the snow. Yeah, it's quite nice.
Wow. Okay.
There's
Okay.
something
Wow. Go ahead,
there's something
Christine.
really fascinating about what happens with snow because I think so pretend that James had just finished his description and so he was describing the snow falling and you can hear each little thing. Now, what you have to even though I live in Southern California,
Wait,
technically
can you
it's
repeat
rain.
that? Can you repeat that last part?
So
You turned
oh,
into
did it cut out?
C3PO switching through his languages for a second there.
Yeah.
I see. Am I back?
Yeah, you're good. You're
Yeah.
good.
Okay, good. So the when rain falls, there's a lot of reverb somehow on each raindrop falling. You
Hmm.
hear like when snow falls, there's no reverb at all. That's like the defining characteristic of snow. It's or I don't really know how to make a non-reverb vocal sound actually because I have a mouth. Um, but yeah, it's very interesting because you hear it's like hearing a small amount of rain, but without the sort of splash sensation that comes with rain. It's very interesting. There's a dull thud
Is it because of
feeling.
what it's falling on?
I mean, it's probably what it's falling on, and it's tiny, tiny, tiny granules of ice falling on tiny, tiny, tiny granules of ice that are on top of tiny, tiny granules of ice.
Wow.
Um, I love it's one of my and actually it's funny because in episode 14 I'm gonna bring this up later. Um, the sound of what I just call swarm sounds, cloud sounds, particle sounds, whatever you want to say, when there's like 1,000 billion of the same tiny sound that creates a giant hole. I think it's got to be one of my favorite like categories. Oh,
Sorry, I just.
you okay?
Sorry. Just a really loud noise happened in my computer. Don't worry about it.
Um, did you amplify the snow a little too much?
No, I started playing a white noise thing and I was like, oh my God.
Okay, can someone turn that into a GIF, please?
Please
Somebody
don't.
on the internet.
Yes, we'll make that happen. Yes.
Oh yeah, we'll make it happen. Don't worry.
We're committed.
But yeah, swarms. We'll get to that when we get to episode 14 because there's a cool moment where the strings do something cool.
I'm trying to think of what safe natural phenomena that I have not experienced, and I can't think of any. I mean, obviously, yeah, like I haven't like been in a tornado. That's why I said safe, or like a hurricane. But something like snow. I don't know if I think I've experienced them all the safe ones.
Well, aren't you special, James?
No, I'm like thinking like Xanthe, you should go and figure out a way to go experience that soon. Okay,
Okay.
it's like yeah, that's your homework assignment to
I don't want to
like,
go out when
go to-
it's snowing.
go up to
I'll go
Mammoth or
find
something.
snow
There you
with
go.
you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like you should experience that in your lifetime. Absolutely.
Look, I think I
think
have,
the other
but,
ones,
like,
the ones that are
briefly.
not safe, like probably let's all try to avoid like tornadoes and hurricanes and like
Right.
firestorms and things like that.
I'm sure
but-
I have been in snow. I take that back. I'm sure I've briefly been in snow, very briefly, maybe a couple times on the way to something, just in the midst of travel. But yeah, I don't have like a clear memory because it hasn't happened repeatedly. and it's been like, oh, better get out of here right now, type of thing. It seems like other people in chat have definitely experienced snow.
Snow. It's
Yeah,
Snoke.
close to real Scotland. So we had snow 2 weeks ago. I can't hear the snow here in Canada because I'm wearing headphones listening to Star Wars Music Minute. Also found
That's right.
Canada snowing now. Also found a great use of PPE face shield just to keep snowflakes from accumulating on my glasses.
That's a good idea. That's a great idea. But then doesn't it accumulate on the face shield?
But you could probably like wipe it much easier.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
windshield wiper. Thank you, the Masked Jedi.
Yeah, like
Great explanation. I often see them on here. Have you tried putting them up as clips, shorts, whatever? No. I
them
have
meaning
not.
explanations?
Yeah.
Is that what he's they're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. To answer your question, no, I have not tried doing that.
Let's give Xanthe more work to do on
I just don't
running
have
this
time to
channel,
like go back and do that kind of thing and then format it right for the thing. And then playing the algorithm game is really tough for me. Yeah.
Well, you have like that one lightsaber short that you made is like got how many
Yeah.
views or whatever on it?
I made that
It's like-
specifically for TikTok though. It
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
like,
that's very digestible in terms of content for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. After the storm is over, I love how quiet it is. It's as if the snow insulates everything and makes it a special kind of quiet.
Yeah.
yeah, for
It
sure.
does.
Yeah, because that snow is not very reverberant. Like I think that's what Christina was saying. Like it's like it doesn't. It's basically a big old pad that soaks up all the sound. The whole ground just becomes a acoustic paneling basic or like a studio,
Yeah.
like the inside of a recording studio, which is really cool.
So
Yeah, Xanthe, you got to get out there, dude. We got to like take Xanthe on a snow trip and just like drop
Oh, no,
them off
don't-
in the middle of the woods in the snow and then come back in 3 hours and pick them up and see what they think.
you don't have to apologize, The Masked Jedi. I take it as it's definitely a compliment, and it's certainly a compliment to Justin. It's definitely a compliment. No, I'm like honored that you would even think that is something that we should do. Like, no, I appreciate it. That was just my honest answer of no,
Xanthe
I have
is
not
taking
tried it.
applications for short.
I'm taking
content creators.
applications
Yeah,
for
if you
people who
wanna-
can make shorts. Yeah, I mean, I would like in an ideal world, like I know that some big YouTube content creators have like shorts channels or will do shorts, and like Star Wars Explained does shorts, and everything, but they have a lot more of a well-oiled machine that can handle that. If I got to the point where I could do that, that would be awesome. So yeah.
I'll tell you what. We'll say it right here. If Xanthe gets 10,000 subscribers to this YouTube channel,
We will, then
Maybe.
shirts will
Maybe.
happen.
tell your friends, everybody. We'll get that number up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, definitely a compliment. Okay. We'll get back to, let's just keep talking about stuff because this white noise stuff will come up again later. So yeah. Okay. So episode 12, what are other people's thoughts on episode 12?
There's some really interesting. So they get out. They go after. I like how they just called them the Raiders, and then they weren't Tusken Raiders, but they were kind of Tusken Raiders, but they weren't. Kind of a thing. I was like, oh, are these the Snow Tusken Raiders? Is this the
The
Snow
Tundra
Raiders?
Raiders?
The Tundra Raiders. Ooh, yeah. Are these the
The
Tundra
Walrus Tusken Raiders?
I dig it. Walrus Tusken. I lost my thought there. That was a good one.
Sorry about that.
No,
James, you're derailing with your jokes.
I can't.
The Raiders were similar to Tusken Raiders.
They were,
were.
weren't they? I thought for a moment, like, how did the Tusken Raiders get up on? I thought they were the Sand People. These are the snow. Is Raider a species? Like, is there like the Tatooine, and then there's like, like they've outreached or something like that. The music during that little battle heisty kind of thing was like, it had like these like ratchety electro snare drum kind of a thing. I don't know if anyone else noticed it. It didn't sound like a acoustic snare drum, or at least maybe
yeah.
it was an acoustic sample, but like sequenced on like a type of drum machine or sequencer kind of a thing to give it this kind of like stuttery, ratchety kind of
Yeah, it was
effect.
cool.
It got very like electronic kind of a little battle scene with lots of lasers and kind of like this pulsing soundtrack.
It's funny how there was like sort of an avalanche in this episode and then like a tsunami in 2 episodes later. Lots of natural
Actually,
disasters.
The
Which,
two natural
okay,
disasters I fear the most are tsunamis and avalanches.
I'm so scared of
Wow.
tsunamis living by the
I'd
ocean.
be really afraid of them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah, big
yeah.
waves are definitely like, I think I love seeing them in media. I love seeing giant things from the water in my media. Like that Interstellar. If you've seen that movie, with the giant wave planet. Oh God, I love that stuff. Like huge, giant, like skyscraper tall stuff coming from the ocean to me is like, it really, really, really like rubs me the right way.
It
Okay,
tickles
James.
that apocalypse bone for total annihilation of a
It's unfathomable, I think, is part of it. It's like seeing
Yeah.
something that is really difficult to comprehend. And
Yeah, it's like
I think what's cool,
Lovecraftian for sure.
yeah, I think the sound of those things is also really difficult to comprehend. And what was really cool about this, about Pabu and Outpost, is that we got to see two huge phenomena that had, I mean, they took a lot of effort with the sound design. And I really paid
yeah.
attention. I was like, how are they going to do the sound design of this? Because, like,
Mm.
I have some sort of morbid, dark fascination with what does a tsunami sound like, partially because I, like, want to know. But, uh, I mean, like, I want to know so I can run faster, I guess, should I
I
need
see.
to.
You want to know so you can know how to detect it.
But also because I get the feeling that, I mean, we'll talk more about the tsunami and the Pabu episode, but the avalanche in this episode, I mean, it's just, I love how they, I think they started hearing it. I mean, yeah, I guess I just looking for my notes specifically on that. But yeah, the avalanche is nice. I'm not gonna go into the sounds of it because
avalanche.
I feel like in the end it's like pitch, it's like made of pitches that can't be transmitted on our digital devices. Like we can hear the white noise and sort of crackly things that go with an avalanche, but an actual avalanche pitch is so low that there's no way that
It's
could
just a
be.
rumble. Yeah.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
just
I think, I don't know.
it's just
Oh, that's
I mean,
interesting.
and I'm sure it's hard to go and like record an avalanche for like
Yeah.
Foley work or something like that, because one, you'd have to induce an avalanche or be lucky enough to have your stuff there and be in a safe spot and still get a great recording of, you know, how many 1,000 pounds of snow coming at you. Same with the tsunami. I once heard that like if you can see the tsunami coming at you, you're already too late, kind of a thing, which is terrifying. So how did you get a recording or generate a recording of a tsunami, like a well recorded
I'm
one, not
sure
from a
there
cell
is.
phone, not from a thing, you know, like
I'm sure there is a recording
I'm
somewhere.
sure. Maybe it's just like like waves. They like recordings of waves, just lots of them, like crashing into things, kind of a thing, like in a giant sound mesh. I don't know.
Walrus Tuscan Raiders. Okay,
Yeah,
so
Tusken
I think
Raiders.
that's the name for now. Thanks, everyone.
About
It's confirmed now. The all of these natural disasters kind of make me wonder if one, oh, how convenient all these natural disasters are happening, but two, the empire is doing lots of things that could potentially be contributing to global warming and
true,
lots
right?
of climate
Yeah.
change. So, I mean,
That's true.
blowing up planets and just like even testing small patches of blowing up portions of planets, that has got to have ripples somehow.
Oh, it absolutely would. Like, if you think about in the Thrawn books, how the
Ah,
whole
The
issue
Starflash?
with well, not
dying.
just Starflash, but the whole reason that the area that the Chiss occupy is impossible to navigate or difficult to navigate is because there were a chain of supernovas back in the day. And the gravitational waves that continue to change, like a shifting current in an ocean, uh, make it impossible to program in advance a navigational path. You have to, at that moment, see what's up with gravity. So if you just take a planet out of a system or a moon away from something, then that changes
Yeah. Whew.
the space time fabric shape, and and causes you to yeah, that's a really good point.
Isn't the implication in this episode that that whole like their attack on the Raiders is what causes the avalanche, though? Like, it starts right after they.
Oh no, I got the sense that the Raiders were running after them, not running after them, but they were running. They knew the avalanche was coming before them.
Oh, I thought because didn't they blow something up?
Yeah, they blew something. Yeah, they caused it.
Oh,
It
They
was like
caused it.
a last ditch effort
Yeah.
to like
Oh,
survive by annihilating everything, kind of.
got it. Okay.
Yeah, so I think the explosion caused it. But
Got it.
regardless, that I think that does. I do funny if they were like if Crosshair and the Bad Batch like met up within the next episode and they're like, hey, what's been going on with you? And Crosshair's like, yeah, you won't believe it. I just like escaped this like giant like mountain avalanche over. Like, really? We just escaped this like tsunami last week. Like, what a coincidence! Like, it kind of seems like, like there's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
going on in these two groups of characters' lives in terms
Yeah.
of natural disasters.
you know, that is what I just realized is there's an outpost which is essentially a place like it's where unimportant people are to the Empire, and Pabu, a place that has no resources that the Empire would want and is too dangerous because of basically these places are not safe from natural disasters, and therefore the Empire doesn't control these places.
Uh,
And so that's why it's safe to be there. And so the farther, the more hunted you are by the Empire, the more you have to be in places that
Yeah, the
are
fringes,
inherently
the dangerous places.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Like think
That's a
about
really good point.
yeah, think about Lando and his whole operation on that planet that it's like too hot, like just absurdly hot that he has to build like solar shield things. I forget which story this is, but
Hassan in Rise of Skywalker, you talking about?
yeah, I think so actually. Maybe. Not
Is that what you're
not the
talking about? Like,
city,
where
not the floating
in
city.
Are you talking about where Lando is in Rise of Skywalker, like in the sand planet that they find him in? Is that what you're talking about?
You're talking about Bespin.
Actually, I realized I think I'm also is there's a Thrawn Lando connection, right? Because basically Lando has all of these mining droids and
Oh,
the Empire steals them and
Is this in
uses
like Heir
them
to
as
the Empire?
is this Last
this must
Shot
be
or
heir to
something
the
like that?
Empire because
Oh, okay, okay.
Bad Thrawn steals them and
Got it.
and
Bad
uses
Thrawn.
them to kill starfighters. He like
Is it-
shoots a mining droid at you when you're trying to fight him in a starcraft, and that doesn't work out so well. It's kind of like way worse than what are the droids that oh gosh, I've been like all up in too many books right now, skipping around
And there's
like
there's
just the
lots
parts
of
that I
lots of
like.
droids.
Yeah,
Well, the point of
scavenger
the
droids. Yeah.
did you say gravity droids?
Scavenger droids.
Oh,
They're
scavenger droids.
basically
Okay.
like getting attacked by a mining droid is like getting attacked by a scavenger droid, but probably much worse because it's not meant to slowly disassemble your ship. It's meant to like bore through your ship completely
Yeah. I mean,
and
even if
kill
we
you.
cross series and go to Mandalorian, we just went to has everyone seen Mandalorian up till is everyone caught up on Mandalorian?
I am.
I'm not.
Okay, that's okay, Christina.
No way, Christina. There's no way that she is.
Okay, well, there's a point where there's a
Christina just,
dangerous
like,
planet and a
doesn't
droid
watch
goes
them.
out first.
Like until weeks later, and I don't like know how she does it.
I've only seen episode 1.
Oh my
Okay,
god,
that's fine.
Oh,
It's kind of not fine.
James.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Okay. Back to Bad Batch. Okay, so the rest of this episode, the other notable sound thing that happens is the choir that comes in.
Well, yeah, there's like this big, I don't know, the horn solo and the crosshair theme ending was just kind of really heart wrenching for me.
Yeah.
It was.
It's during an emotional time.
Yeah, I got this. I wrote sad strings for crosshair, for crosshair shot that flows into the glassy pad theme, which is the crosshair theme, and into a trumpet solo version of the crosshair theme.
Yeah, which evokes like taps, like military funeral
Yeah,
type stuff.
very much so.
It's a good theme.
Which is
It is a good theme.
Which is interesting that you say that because taps is played on a bugle, which is like a valveless trumpet, essentially, the OG trumpet in a way, or one of the original iterations, and to hear that theme on a trumpet gives us this sad taps military feel, but to hear it say on a French horn gives it like a heartbreaking feel almost, or a triumphant feel. We've talked about this a billion times on this series of how certain instruments just give us very, very specific associations based on how we grew up and what we grew up listening to, and things like that, where maybe some people wouldn't consider the trumpet sound reminiscent of taps because they aren't familiar with the American military music, the music of the American military.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even consider that.
Things like that. And it's funny too, because a lot of people actually do know a lot of the sounds and trumpet calls of the American military because it's used in horse races and a lot of other things. That's a bugle call in the military.
It's
but
used in
also
horse races?
It's also famously used in horse racing as like the call to start the race kind of a thing.
Oh.
It's a whole job. Someone gets to play that like 25 times a day.
The reason I know them is because at camp, at like music camp, they would wake us up with reveille and put us to bed with taps.
Yep. And they use it so much in other places that aren't necessarily militaristic, but militaristic.
So putting something like that in our media kind of gives those who were raised with those associations, it has that immediate association.
Absolutely. And then so like if we had heard this theme say on a violin, like what kind of emotions would that trigger for everybody in this context?
Right.
You know?
Well, I think violins are mournful.
Exactly. Now it's like a mourning. And if I was to, I don't have my flute out, but if I play this on the flute, all of a sudden, it becomes sad. But now it's like delicate. It's almost childlike, in a way. It's mystical and a thing. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. Oh well. Hold on. Now we're doing this. Harp. How about a harp? Do you have a harp?
Probably.
Or some kind of plucked string?
Oh, plucked string? Okay.
Yeah, totally different. Imagine if it was been a guitar, in that case. Yeah. Or,
I want to hear an electric guitar.
Okay.
All of a sudden, it's a Transformers episode.
Right. Right. You know.
Or actually, that sounds like the X-Men theme. Actually, that sounds like the '80s X-Men theme or the '90s
you're
X-Men
right,
theme. I mean,
yeah.
We could do this all day.
Now it's mystical again, but we're back in the snow and which is funny because that's like exactly what happens before this trumpet solo that we're talking about. Is that sound basically plays Crosshair's theme? So
Jeannie
yeah,
says whenever a vulture would show up, there was that crosshair whom, yeah, but instead of a
Buzz whom,
synthesized
yeah.
sound, it sounded like a cymbal and drum. I think one example, I think I know what you're talking about, and I think let's see, starting at 2045 is. Well, there's those. Well, this is when the chorus starts actually, but then it is on strings. It's like boom, boom, boom.
can you?
The drum
Xanthe,
is
can you
going
tell
boom. Like
where
the timestamp would be like 2055. Start there, and the drums. Boom,
Oh, this is when
Boom.
he's carrying him, right?
boom. Yeah.
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 You get
It
that
sounds
kind of
very-
the
and, like,
slow, laborious.
Yep. And the drums make it
Walking.
sound laborious too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jeannie, you're talking about a cymbal, like the instrument, a cymbal, like,
Yeah.
or is
Oh yeah. Do you mean
like?
like Do you mean like a symbol? Oh, James already did it. Another BWOM happens at 25:15.
Where is that? I don't think that's what she's talking about, though.
Yeah,
what you were
me
just
neither.
saying.
So 25:15
I'm
is
curious
something.
what that is. Yeah.
Did Dee Bradley Baker really do the vulture?
I I wouldn't doubt it. He's like the only one in the room for these episodes. It's just like, oh man, we need like a vulture sound. Hey, Dee, do you want to do that real quick? Can you also do like, can you make an avalanche sound too? Oh, very good.
Perfect.
very
We
good.
got it. Thanks, Dee.
It's like we gotta save some money here.
Yeah, unknown fact, he ghost voiced every character and every sound effect as well in this whole
He's like, can you do your best Wanda Sykes impression, please?
Have you seen Pinocchio, the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio?
Yes.
The little monkey is Kate Blanchett.
Right.
Right.
I know. It's so great.
So funny.
There's an interview with her basically saying that Guillermo asked her to be in the film. He's like, I'll play
Anything,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely, I'll play anything. And I was like, dang, Guillermo's got some casting Kate Blanchett as the monkey.
Yeah.
You know? That's great.
I love that.
And
Wait,
she
you know what that's
killed
a
it.
lot like?
What?
You know what that's a lot like is you know that alien that the short alien that is putting coins into BB-8 in Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's
Right?
Mark Hamill, huh?
That's Mark Hamill,
Yeah.
which is really funny.
That is funny. Kind of like Vin Diesel playing Groot too.
It's a lot like that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that Vin Diesel has voiced it in all the other language overdubs too of those movies. I'm pretty sure he does like "Yo soy Groot." Like I'm pretty sure he's the voice of every
That's
language.
great.
of
Oh, that's
Groot,
great.
which is it's a pretty good gig, man.
If I were Vin Diesel, I would do that because from a practical
Easy
perspective,
money?
that's like an extremely easy paycheck. You only
Did
have
they
to
Say,
check?
say one word.
I am Groot in every possible combination.
And then
that
you learn how to
can.
say "I am" in tons of languages, which is cool,
Right.
I guess. I'm sure he needs to say "I am Vin Diesel" when he goes places. He probably doesn't, but
So Chuck says, that's why they cut to Kate in the audience when Pinocchio won the Oscar. I didn't watch the Oscars, but if they did that, that's hilarious. Of all people, to pan over to Kate Blanchett. I bet people in the audience were like, "What?" They did. Like, why are you on Kate
Oh, my
Blanchett? But no.
goodness.
Yep.
Genie,
Okay.
yeah.
Episode 12. Do we have any more thoughts about that? Other than
I
lots of
want to add a few
crosshair.
thoughts,
Oh, please go ahead, Christina.
probably mostly because I was late. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Um, but yeah, I wanted to point out that I had an interesting experience of the wind sound, especially at the beginning, because I got to hear the nice wind sound plus the sound of my projector, which is a sort of a wind sound, and then plus the sound of my heater, which is also like a wind sound. So I was like trying to figure out what if there were pitches involved, and it was almost impossible because there were so many air sound pitches in my room. But then at the same time, you also had a lot of ship sounds flying
Yeah.
in and out during
Yeah.
these scenes where we have the wind, and so it was interesting to distinguish the of the wind from the of like a various flight craft, and I really enjoyed that. Uh, like I enjoy hearing similar sounds together in the context of sound design in these episodes,
And yet
and I
remains
thought that
so
was really
distinguished.
nice.
It's such a it's such an interesting mixing process, you know.
Yeah, they did such a good job on the sound design of this episode. I thought it was really impressive.
This
Another
reminded
really
me of
good
the droid
example.
episode from Clone Wars a little bit.
Oh,
I don't remember why, but I just had that vibe. Also, that
see
ship
that.
looked like a flying tortoise. That's in my notes. I just thought I'd say that. This ship at 2 minutes in, when it took off, it looked like a flying tortoise.
Totally. Another really good sound design moment that happened was when Mayday and Crosshair are in the cave. We got to hear some. So other than the great sounds of the landmine that was stepped on,
Hmm.
the in particular, as soon as Mayday has finished pegging the mine down, he there's a point at which he like or okay before he pins the mine down, he's speaking and removes his helmet as he speaks, so we get to hear his voice transition from our with your like from clone filtered through the helmet to resonant in the cave. And
Yeah.
then he walks. So remember when Crosshair like starts to almost step off and he's like, no, you stay on that mine until I have gone around the corner and then you can slowly take your foot off the mine. But then we get to hear him actually go around the corner. And I think that the sound designers did an amazing job animating that in terms of, or I don't know, affecting that
Automating
because
that.
we autom- I guess yeah, automating that
Yeah.
because we did really hear him put his helmet back on and change in terms of distance and sort of whether it like I really felt like they created it so that the sound felt like you could actually hear it going around a corner. I thought that was really well done,
Yeah,
and
like
I was
panned and
pleased with
everything.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That was like, I guess maybe 11 minutes in or something like that. Um, and then I always love a good ice crackle. There was a lot of good, like that. I've never heard anything like that. And I think it's a similar fascination with something kind of horrifying, like the idea that ice sort of like moves, like huge pieces of ice make sounds. I
Yeah.
think that's sort of horrifying. I don't understand that entirely. So, um, yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
Oh,
Uh,
you two today.
there was another
A
sound that I really
Texan and a
liked.
Californian. I didn't know that ice can make sound when it moves. And Xanthe's like, has anyone ever been in the snow before? Oh, you two
Thankfully,
are
it does
just the
snow in
best.
Texas every Valentine's. That's the time of year it snows.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've specifically been there around then a couple times
Okay.
recently, and
Nice.
But not around giant ice cracking and moving.
no,
I
I've
went to
never
school
been
with a
around that.
giant ice brick, actually. He was in my class, and he made some
Are you
really
talking about
interesting
Justin?
Wait, what? I'm an
Oh
ice
no,
cream.
you weren't. I don't even know who you're
A
talking
giant
about.
No,
ice
I'm joking that
Oh,
like
okay.
that there might that it might be so snowy in where I come from that they actually enroll the ice bricks in school.
Wow. That went so beyond.
Wow.
You had to climb a glacier just to get to
Just to
school
get to
uphill
school.
Yeah,
both ways.
that's right.
In Buffalo.
My fourth
Yeah, you
grade
had your
teacher
ice
was an
pick.
ice brick.
It's a nice
All right. Well, the last thing I'm
right.
going to say is that this crosshair theme that keeps coming up, again, we have been calling this sort of we've had a pin on Crosshair's music since season 1, since like the very beginning of season 1. And
And
okay, I don't know what James just muted himself too.
I definitely didn't want you to stop talking, is what I was trying
Oh, okay.
not to get you to do.
Okay.
But
So I'll keep
instead
going. Oh, no.
Yes, is what,
Okay.
that would be great.
Okay, so at first, Crosshair's theme, I think I had just pegged it as just being like a minor 7th. Let me,
yeah.
sorry, my piano's on ocarina sound.
Yay.
And then, and that's what it was at the beginning of the series.
Like
But it was so
nothing to it.
What'd you say?
I mean, but you're like there was like nothing to it. Like
Correct.
In terms of like how it's developed. Like it was a very simple.
Correct. That's why I felt a little silly even calling it out. I was sort of making a speculate, like I was wildly speculating. Oh, I tell you, this is going to become a Crosshair theme. It's just minor. It's just an interval. It's just an interval. It's really not much. But then, sure enough, I feel like it has. At the end of season 1, it kind of developed. Again, I don't know if it is a intentional development, but either way, we got toward the end of season 1 this Crosshair. During the finale, the 2 finale episodes. And in my notes, I called it the brother Crosshair theme because I felt like it would come out more when Crosshair was not being overtly being, it was sort of like sympathetic. It was more sympathetic Crosshair theme,
Yeah.
because he does have that boom, just the like, the boom,
the
Jeannie
boom.
said it.
Yeah.
But then that other melodic material, like the fact that it's been coming out more in these episodes kind of makes me feel a certain way about Crosshair's internal state here. Because we hear this theme ends the episode after he shoots the lieutenant. And I'm not saying this is like, sympathetic Crosshair, but I feel like we're getting a little bit of a representation of what Crosshair is feeling in that theme.
Yeah.
I agree. I will add to it that I think that not only do we hear what he's feeling, particularly at the beginning of the expression of that theme, when it comes in, it's kind of more full orchestra string vibes. And then when it moves to the brass trumpet taps sound, I think that symbolizes a sort of solidification of how he's feeling. So when it's in the romantic strings, full orchestra feel, that's more like what's going on in his heart and he's not really expressing it. But then when he actually decides, okay, like I'm gonna shoot this guy, it becomes,
It's more resolute.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes more resolute. And I think that kind of speaks to what the taps sound does, is that taps sounding things are sort of solid. I kind of want to say like institutionalized and or respectable, something that's being expressed, as opposed to something that's internal and only in your heart. Something that's sort of supposed to be experienced by a group rather than by an individual.
I feel
Particularly, at least for people who would recognize that that trumpet sound alludes to taps.
Yeah.
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 Great. Let's move on to episode 13, which starts with diegetic music and some very bright colors that look like they're all under a black light or something. And another creepy crawly, deadly creepy crawler. We love those.
That's
in
another
Star
thing I'm
Wars.
really
Deadly.
afraid of.
Yeah, I'm afraid of those too.
Deeply deadly, creepy crawler.
Yeah. And we saw
And
a
we
bit.
get some of this stuff. 1 second. Make some noise. Can you hear that? No, probably not.
We
Right?
can hear the squealing, but not the.
It's squealing.
Yeah, the high pitched.
Make noise. You can't hear any of that right now?
No, we just hear you tapping on rubber pads.
Oh, why did you stop working? Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Now you can probably hear it. Cool. Here we go. You get some timpani in there. But for some reason, oh, that's why. Here we go. We get this, like, we get the classic Bad Batch and Kevin Kiner. So people are about to start shooting each other timpani prelude.
People are about to shoot each other timpani prelude.
That's like a go-to. Like we had the what's his name, Cad Bane in season 1, and we had these like, man, I don't know why my. I'll figure this out next time I use this thing, but for some reason my 1/4-inch cable is real noisy coming out of the master. But whatever. I was gonna play it for you, but it sounds like crap. So I'll sing it. We get all these like these nice dun 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 dum dum, like isolated amongst the texture that like kind of accent those kind of like who's gonna shoot first, what's gonna happen here, kind of setting you up for anticipation that people are about to start attacking each other.
You're saying that the timpani hits kind of happen before there's a like they anticipate.
It's like a standoff music.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And they punctuate kind of the it's kind of like it's like a gut punch. It's like, oh, it's like when you realize bad things are about to happen. That's how I can liken the sensation of the timpani in these types of moments. It's a little bit like when Luke Skywalker's on the plank of Jabba's barge.
Yeah.
And you get those boom, boom, boom in those hits when they're like everyone's staring at each other. I'm not sure if timpani is in that scene, but definitely like the lows of the orchestra are hitting on those hits. Probably timpani with them as well. I think it actually might just be brass. Actually, it's like boom, boom, but that has that effect of being like get ready, everybody. Yeah. Right. These big hits.
Yeah.
And so that is happening while she's sitting at that. Yeah. But it's not so much like those big war drums as much as like it's a pointed pitch that gives you that feeling.
Yeah, I know what you mean. In this context, it's like punctuating what the strings are like. It's going like boom. I get what you're saying.
It's like 226 is where I'm talking about. 226 is like boom, dum, dum. And then, what you just played. Just like building up to like something.
And it kind of there's kind of, is there a cymbal crash at the end of that? Mm-hmm. And is that kind of marks the end of it? Like.
Yeah, and then everything just erupts,
Yeah. The cymbal crash before it erupts.
So it basically culminates with Omega like basically killing those two people with a giant bell in this scene, if everyone remembers. Just Omega straight up murders somebody with a bell, which I thought was pretty brutal. I think she's the only one that kills anybody in this scene.
I didn't realize she killed them.
What else happens to people?
I don't know. I just never thought about it. I was like, there's a bit.
I'm pretty sure Omega just straight up cold-blooded murdered two people in this scene. But and are those the bugs from the Attack of the Clones?
I hope so.
I'm pretty sure that those are the Attack of the Clone bugs.
It would make sense.
which were, of course, as everyone knows, featured in the most convoluted assassination attempt ever in history. Where
They went into
where
Padme's
where
bedchambers.
Count Dooku hires Jango
Yeah.
Fett, who then
Who
hires
hires
Zem
Zam
Wessel,
Wessel.
who then employs a droid that then dispenses bugs into and maybe to go one step further, this is all orchestrated by Palpatine, so it's like the chain of command in that assassination attempt.
Hey,
might be the
Palpatine doesn't
one.
care if you outsource. He just wants you just get it done. However, you need to do that.
Yeah, those bugs, man,
Yeah.
down the chain of command for sure.
The diegetic music at the beginning, it still falls in line with what we've been saying, which is like it's meant to be. It's still purposely very uninteresting diegetic music. It's just background stock sounds, stock music. I mean, in the scene at least, I actually am enjoying. They're fun to listen to, like on the soundtrack, but in the scene, not like songs everyone's gonna sing to. They're just whatever.
Right.
For the background. Okay, so then we cut to Tech playing a game against himself. And then we get to Pabu. And Pabu has some new kind of sounds, I
Christina,
guess.
do you have something to say about the chess game or something? Christina was
No,
just,
I was
putting.
back when we were still at the bar. I thought again the sound designers did a really good job with the tree, making it clear that it was a hollow ceramic tree, that you could very clearly hear that.
Whoa.
Which I thought was really nice. I listened to it a few times and thought, wow, that is like absolutely how a hollow ceramic item sounds. And then shortly after that, we get to hear that like cup of beer or wine or whatever, the cup of poison. We get to hear that clink on the same table and slide across, and it's very obviously plastic. As opposed to the ceramic tree, so you could very clearly tell what the material was. I thought that was nice.
I just on that poison thing, I thought the bar for the what do you call it, the attentiveness or intelligence for these pirates is pretty low, considering she's like this nefarious character like hands her a poison cup and she's like, I don't like poison, and he's like, impressive. It's like I'm like, what? You're clearly trying to poison me. I don't know. I don't think I have to be. It's like obviously like, whoa, you thought you figured out that I was handing you like something that would kill you. Wow, I'm impressed. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah, Chuck, going back to the crosshair thing, says not just external, but to put distance on it, like we are hearing the old crosshair reverberating further and further away. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They also talk to Sid before they get to Pabu, right?
Well, less
No, they have
talk
a
to her
message.
than
They're-
listen to her message.
Listening to it's like a y'all better come back now or I'll blah 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 kind of a message.
Yeah, you better be dead.
And she says it's been 20
Right.
rotations. Does that mean 20 days? Is that what
I
that
think
is?
so.
20
Yeah,
days.
how long is a rotation? Rotation of
It's
what?
different for each planet.
I think it's meant to be a day.
Well, right, I get that,
Not
but like,
that long.
I'm curious how long a rotation is, because sometimes they're like, you left me there for 32 rotations, or it's like, oh, it's only been 7 rotations. It's like I'm just curious, like rotation of what?
I think they mean like whatever the standard Coruscant, according to Coruscant rotation is, I think is what people
Oh, really?
snap to. I've thought about this way too much and talked about it too many times because Star Wars doesn't it's not going to work if you just let every
Everybody
planet have their own timeline.
No, none of it works. It's
Yeah.
like remember the Mandalorian episode in season 2 where he's transporting the frog lady for her eggs, and the whole thing, like the whole plot line is that he can't go at light speed because her eggs, like, are gonna, like, her children will die if they're traveled at light speed. But then he like gets to the next planet like within a day or whatever. It's like, how close are these planets if you can travel below the speed of light and get there in the same day? Like, obviously that makes
Yeah, right.
zero sense. So is the speed of light like just like way faster in the Star Wars
Well, maybe he just
universe,
wanted to
right?
get there in 1 minute rather than 1 day.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to assume so. But like, obviously, if even if you travel at the speed of light in our regular universe, like it's still going to take you like years to get across, like the solar system. So, anyway, so time doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think the
Planets
speed
don't
of
make any
light,
sense.
wouldn't it would take 8 minutes to get to the sun?
Yeah, but he's traveling from a different system.
I see what
Like,
you're saying. Yeah.
No, actually, I don't think that's true. Treading at the speed of light to get you will take you, like, to the sun is one thing, but to another planet in the same solar system would take you a significant amount of time.
Well, we are closer to the closer planet. Wait, are we? Oh, it depends on where they are in there. It depends on if they're aligned, where they are in their rotation.
According to
You know what I mean?
according to Wikipedia, the standard of all Star Wars knowledge, a day was a unit of time in the Galactic Standard Calendar. A standard day was 24 hours. The length
Convenient.
of a day varied between planets. The length of a day for most terrestrial planets was somewhere between 18 to 36 hours. And then we got this covered.com says local day, there's standard day, galactic standard day. And then if they say rotation, they're returning to the local day of that planet.
Oh, okay.
But,
Okay.
Like, for instance, like Uranus is like 2 light years from Earth.
Okay.
So that's 2 years at the speed of light.
Yeah.
So like
I think. Oh, sorry.
going to a different solar system would be like, would be intense. Even at the speed of light. So you got to figure that hyperspace is like way faster than what we view as the speed of light.
Yeah. There's also, I think, I would assume a difference between whether you're traveling towards or away from the hugest gravitational body in the immediate vicinity. So if you're traveling from Uranus to Earth, it's going to be a lot faster than if you're traveling from Earth to Uranus because
Yeah. Away from the sun.
because of the sun. Yeah, I would think so. But hyperspace is known to, well, hyperspace is not known to be anything in particular, but for sure hyperspace is like a whole nother level of physics and almost even spirituality because the force connects with it. Like it's almost like a force thing.
Whales,
Yeah, I love the whales. That is a really good point. But yeah, hyperspace. And
Cute
I
little
guess there's
monkey
different
lizards.
kinds of hyperspace too, maybe. Like there's blue hyperspace, is standard hyperspace, but it is
What?
posited
there's
in
ludicrous
various
speed.
books.
They've gone to plaid, of course.
But they've got like because the Nihil use the green hyperspace lanes. Like their hyperspace is a different color, so it must be a different kind of hyperspace. And then there's the red hyperspace too, that also is somehow Nihil related.
I wonder if it's like just different speeds.
Well, it's not Nihil related, but it's related to what's her name? The
Lorna
family
Doone.
that the family that was the original prospectors that helped find all the hyperspace lanes. There were the Graphs and the Xanthecas. The
Xanthe. Yeah.
Xanthecas. So yeah, Mari Xantheca is like kind of like basically would have been a Jedi if she hadn't been a Nihil prisoner. Lots of spoilers there. I shouldn't have said all that. Sorry.
It's okay. I don't even know what you're spoiling because I haven't.
Yeah, that's fine.
heard of any of this.
Good.
This is great.
So let's move on. Speaking of whales, we have the monkey lizards. We have to talk about the monkey lizards because their sound it pervades this episode.
The moon yos.
Yes,
Munoz.
I like the moon.
I wanted to record Ziggy making a sound since she's such a part of this. Or like when I'm on the show, she insists on being a part of the show because I feel like she makes a lot of that sort of sound.
Yeah, we need to
But
get
it didn't work out.
a good Munyo imitation. So
Any good timestamps for a Munyo sound? I'm trying to
9:54,
find.
and the way
Oh,
that
it's
they
like a little.
interact.
It's like little squeaky laughs.
Sure.
that.
They sound like little laughing squeaks, like squeaky laughter,
Like that.
but like 3 more octaves up.
Yeah, they're very squealy. They're very high pitched, and we love them. Protect them.
Protect at all costs.
So that's a monkey lizard?
I mean, I don't know. To me, it looked like a monkey. It's a munyo. That was before I knew they were called munyos. I was like, oh, monkey lizard.
Oh. Oh yeah, they're pretty similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
They got mohawks, which is cool.
Yeah, like chameleon. Do chameleons have that? Not chameleons.
Mohawks?
Yeah, like maybe
Iguanas.
like Komodo dragons. So the music in this setting is really like idyllic sounding. It's a lot more. It definitely is in stark contrast to the previous episode and sort of more of the cave crystal mystery stuff, and also the shooting mission military stuff. This is very much like the music is in a different mood altogether. It's like a different headspace. It is like the Bad Batch taking a day off on a nice island that looks like, some place from Greece or Italy or something. And they go out of their way, obviously, narratively and just with the music to make this look and sound beautiful and like so perfect before the tsunami. We have the sunsets, we have like the best lighting, we have that balcony dinner. It's pretty over the top. Yeah, apply the rule of cool. Agree. Yeah, what do you
There's
think of the
like
music here? Oh, and the birds too, the chirping and everything.
Yeah, it's very serene, pastoral.
Pastoral is a good word for that.
Yeah, pastoral like sound design and music. It's just nice. It's
I like
relaxing.
And there's
that
a
we
little
firmly moved away from the kid type theme from episode season 1, season 2, whatever, our classic
Yeah.
theme music. We really haven't seen that type of cue return in any way, shape, or form. When this might be one of those opportunities to do something cheesy because everything is happy and fun and pastoral and nice,
They
like
heard
that
us.
He's gone in a different direction.
But also Omega's older too.
It's true.
No
Yeah.
more child music for Omega. She's older.
This had some of the instruments and visual cues that were indicative of the Impressionist era, both in art and music. I feel like there was a lot of harp, like when Tech and Fee briefly gaze into each other's eyes for a moment. There's a nice harp bit,
Really?
and then there. I made a note that was at 8:35. There was a Tech and Fee gaze, and then at the same time, there's also the beautiful sort of the ocean reflecting the boat on the ocean water and the boat reflected, so you get to see like a beautiful kind of watercolor oil painting looking image.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the images were it was just nicely impressionist in a way, which is very different from the normal Bad Batch
Yeah.
ethos.
It's interesting that they went that direction because now that Xanthe, you just mentioned it kind of looked like a Greek island. Like,
Yeah.
They very, very could have kind of gone that direction, or they could have gone like.
Well, they did go that direction. What do you,
Well, but like musically, like really like invoking those styles of music,
I
or
see.
like usually, or even like the other like typical way you could go with this is like the stereotypical tropical sound where you get a bunch of marimbas and you start banging out the steel drum style of music except on marimba, and you got things and everyone's happy. It very, very like quickly could have gotten there. But it's interesting that they went much more romantically impressionistic as Christina is saying.
I wonder if
Rather
it's because
than
they weren't trying to establish like this is a different culture
yeah
or this is a specific like the topicality of it didn't feel as it felt more like this is paradise where there's lots of refugees.
yeah
Sounded more, by the way, James and Justin, you can both turn your gain up.
Yep.
You went quieter. What this evoked for me was not only sort of the pastoral impressionist music, but also turn of the 20th century New World Americana music, like classical Americana type. Not so much the like Billy the Kid, not so much the not so much the jaunty aspects of it, but some of the like discovering a new world, like some of the New World Symphony type stuff.
yeah
We have lots of like shimmering and lots of like strings playing really smooth legato things with, a few harmonies maybe changing underneath sustained notes and, you know, open, if major, if not like just open tonality, lots of like perfect fourths and perfect fifths and stuff like that. Yeah. Very
Yeah,
Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony vibes and like Dvorak New World Symphony vibes.
Copeland.
absolutely. I
Yeah,
really feel
Copeland.
like the Dvorak New World Symphony vibe, if you go to 9 minutes and 30 seconds in, just as they're right before we're about to have like a nice Fee and Tech moment, and we're watching Shep meet, be a good family of everyone. But there's some really beautiful timbral planing that occurs in with like a something very beautiful that kind of reminded me of something that Debussy would do, but maybe in the way that like Dvorak would reference something that Debussy would do. Where there's like maybe like a violin in the high register and then like a flute or some sort of synth wind instrument in the low register. But what's very nice about it is that that wind instrument is in like a very strong place in its register, whereas the violin is in a very delicate place in its register. And so you get this very nice shimmering thing where the low note is the one that is emphasized, not the high note, which I think is similar to how like American folk music harmonizes, where when you're harmonizing, you pick a small quiet pitch that's quieter than the main melody and sing that. Yeah, I just wanted to. I thought that was a very beautiful.
Whoa. Yeah,
Yeah, I live by Car Hill.
no, I actually thought it was here because the Grand Prix is like about to happen ish. So cars are doing that all the time. It kind of are you talking about the thing that was reminiscent of Omega's theme? Like that? Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's Omega's theme surprisingly hasn't. I mean, it has come up a lot this season, but not like in a huge way where it really plays out fully all the time. But that was like remember last season we were just talking about how much it sounded like Dvorak New World Symphony, and it's that type. It's this part, especially, which is like, except it's you can't hear it when I'm playing it just on a digital piano. But you're right, like the lower harmony, like is the lower voice is stronger than the upper voice, such that when you are deciding what the melody is and what the harmony is, like if you're going to play that game, you one might sing the lower part before they sing the higher part. Okay,
Yeah, it's really
so
interesting.
yeah, the pastoral impressionistic sounds continue. Of course, we have solo French horns doing this too, which is very like Rebellion, and it's obviously it's setting up. I didn't see this coming, but when the tsunami happens, it's like, oh, the spell is a little bit broken. Like, it can't stay like this forever. It
Yeah.
almost did sound too good to be true, and it was.
That band Batch or Bad Batch. I keep calling.
I know. I've been ruined too.
Y'all watching Band Batch today? Well, yeah. I mean,
Did we get an idea of how often these tsunamis happen?
He said 30 years,
Yeah.
right?
Every 30 years. And so they do seemingly have a contingency plan, which is go up on the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what did he say that there was like they had some type of
Yeah, there was an early
warning?
warning system, and it was that huge thing with grates at the bottom that made a foghorn sound. It went,
Yeah.
I see.
Like it went off right after he mentioned it.
Oh, okay.
that was at 1723 if you want to hear it.
I think they may want to retweak that system. I think they need to
Yeah,
get that early
need a
warning system a little earlier, if you will.
For sure.
That's the scary thing about tsunamis, though. Like how,
Yeah,
like
you can't.
I've researched it in Los Angeles, like where the buoys are, like the amount of time it takes for the wave to hit the buoys and then get to the beach, and then they can go like 50 miles inland, I think, or something. Like the ones in Portland did apparently, and so it's just really quite terrifying the idea that a tsunami would come so quickly.
Right.
Like I
Well-
even am pleased in like East Los Angeles. I'm like, I'm glad I live on a hill. Like,
Yeah, I
don't
live
know.
by the ocean, so
Yeah.
there's this like app where you can see the projected sea level in like 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, whatever. And I'm just like, when will I still be alive? Because will my place even still be above sea? I don't know.
You'll be living in the snow-capped mountains by then.
at that point, yeah, right. Yeah. Well, when the tsunami comes, like the water like goes away first, like it all collects.
Yeah.
Right, which is
So
when
you'll
they said,
have that moment.
oh, okay,
At
great.
that point,
When
at
it
that
starts
point
to
you're-
recede. But I'm like far
it starts
enough
to
from the
recede.
water that I can't like directly see it. I won't see that it's like
right.
yeah.
So the
Anyway.
You have to pay
foghorn,
attention
though,
to your cat.
How would
Because-
the frequencies
Yeah,
and
they're
stuff?
gonna they're gonna want they're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
bolt.
At like 15 minutes in, the animals, the Muñoz begin to run away. And then the early warning system doesn't even kick in until 1723. So that is 2 minutes and 23 seconds in band batch time that the animals knew. And of course, animals and
Tech.
oh my, not tech, but the tracker. What is wrong with
The tracker?
the
Fee?
no, like the Bad Batch character
Hunter.
who
Hunter.
Hunter.
Yes.
Hunter.
Yes, Hunter. Sorry.
Slayer.
Yeah, well, Hunter also kind of like had that
Rambo.
sixth sense thing. So pay
Yeah.
attention to make sure you own an animal if you live by the sea, so that you know that if they get strangely uncomfortable and you don't know why, there could be
It's
a
either
Or
that.
tsunami.
Yeah, it's funny that Hunter didn't pick it up because he can go off onto a planet,
He did though.
look at the dirt, put the dirt between his fingers, and like they went that way. It's like no, you should have known when the
His-
tsunami was coming.
His headband might have been a little too tight in this one.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
So the foghorn, actually, real quick, it was created by. What did you say? I'm trying to remember now. It was the water receding and getting pushed through something, and it created the sound. What is that called? There's a term for this. It's
There's a
uh,
term
there-
for
there's-
what?
So there are musical instruments that are sculpturally water driven. So they're built into like the sides of a sea or a bay or something like that, and the water pushing through them will actually make the sounds. A water organ, I think is what they're called. It's not an alien. An alien harp is wind. I think wind driven. I think it's a water organ or something like that. The sound of this foghorn wasn't incredibly spectacular of a sound.
Yeah,
I mean,
water
like,
organ, you nailed it.
is a water organ? Yeah.
Yeah.
Water organs, and there's like one in San Francisco. There's a couple all over the world. Really cool, like
cool.
sculpturally built ones. But yeah, the water goes through it, and it uh, moves the air through the pipes to create that sound, which is interesting because a foghorn. I mean, because that's kind of like the sound they used is reminiscent of like a trumpet or like a large like brr kind of a thing, which like is created by buzzing. So I'm curious, like if water going through pipes would sound more like woo kind of a thing, there'd be a little bit more woo to it than brr to it. I feel so. I'm curious, like what else could have been in that to make it sound like a pressure steam valve foghorn kind of a thing.
I think it could be similar to a pipe organ, and if you picture the water receding, then the space inside the chamber would lower and therefore become deeper, and therefore the pitch would
Yeah.
drop significantly. So
Yeah.
perhaps there's something like that where the water recedes, the pitch drops,
But if the water is
and
receding,
then
then what is giving it the pressure to?
the
I mean,
air that gets
the air
sucked
is coming
into it.
through still. Like whether it's going out or in, the air is either being pushed or sucked through. I guess my knowledge of organ timbre construction is a little lacking because I know like church organs have all the different stops and there's still pipes. You know, there's still various pipes, but they give off various timbres and stuff like that. Organs are essentially acoustic synthesizers, and they're awesome. But you know, or synthesizers are essentially electric organs. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, organs are really cool.
extremely
They're
cool.
extremely
Yeah.
cool.
And the air is a huge part of the organs. Like, I remember, so I used to go to a church that had like one of the hugest organs in it's like one of the top five in the US or something like that. It's huge. And when it would play, when all the pitches would play, all the chandeliers would move. Like they would physically in the whole building be swaying side to side.
Whoa.
That's how
Kinda
much
terrifying.
airflow goes in an organ. And they're tall. I mean, they're like 3-4 stories tall.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
big bass pipes.
They're cool.
And just for then context, the keys to play them are so big that they're played by feet, right? So the organist's
Yeah,
feet are
the
what play
the
those
foot
big
pedals.
notes. Um,
Wow.
that's how large the keys are that connect to those bellows.
Yeah,
Um,
the church that I went to in my youth also had a massive organ, not 3 stories, but it was another room where all the pipes were. They had some decorative pipes, but then the actual pipes were like its own separate thing.
yeah.
The biggest one is in the First Congregational Church in Los Angeles. I've played a gig there.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Nice.
Interesting.
Well, anyway,
That's
organs
cool.
they're so fascinating, and it's fascinating how venues are built around them. I mean, that's why they're in churches all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
they're so old too. It's like you build the venue around, like the organ is made for the venue. So like no two pipe organs are the same. They're made for where they're in, like they're like an installation. They're
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got Cameron Carpenter, of course, who built that touring organ.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen that thing?
Cameron
So he-
Carpenter.
yeah. So he like built an.
Oh, I thought you
organ
said
that
Karen
had-
Carpenter.
No. No. Cameron Carpenter built an organ that can tour, that he can move and install in different spaces that he.
Oh wow,
It's called the First International Touring Organ or something like that.
that's pretty
Massive.
amazing.
There's a couple different major organ designs. Like the old French organ design is probably the kind that's like not transportable since it's built into the building. But then more modern designs are able to incorporate electronics. And I don't. You
Organs are
don't
cool,
have to show it.
especially when someone is playing toccata and fugue and D minor on it.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, an instrument, repertoire is what makes the instrument come alive. I went to an organ
Of course,
concert,
yeah.
a couple months ago, and, just hearing the range of rep, each piece of music showcase different parts of the organ, just naturally because different music will do that. And so, yeah, the person curated it, the concert, well, where you're hearing you're hearing like a nice range of what the organ can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Little
Okay.
little fun
I
fact
texted
about
you a
Toccata and Fugue.
Were you going to say something, James?
Yeah, I was gonna say a little fun
I'll,
fact about that piece is that it's not 100% confirmed that Bach
It was
wrote
Bach.
that piece.
Yeah.
Which is I always find so interesting that it's like they haven't 100% confirmed, and I think there's something that compositionally happens in that piece that is very atypical of Bach, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it's some type of I think it's the way that they permutate the theme. It like goes up a fourth instead of a fifth or something like that. And people have, that's one of the reasons why a lot of musicologists doubt that it was Bach, because it does something that he doesn't normally do
Interesting.
in a lot of his work. Yeah.
that's interesting.
Okay, so back to episode 13. The we hear this like trumpet round. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like when the tsunami is starting to happen. I don't know if it's trumpet. It might be just like other brass. Like a very nice little theme happening.
A theme.
Like
What timestamp?
1736 about. Yeah.
Good year.
Which reminds me of like many other themes that we've heard. Like it kind of recalls the noble clone theme. Like not exactly, but just it was sort of I mean, I wonder if we'll hear it again. It just sometimes, different spots of music
Yeah.
that pop up are like, oh, that could come back, and I would recognize it if it came back, or it could just have been for the scene, which is fine. But yeah, just
It's interesting how like these tiny melodic fragments can have such an impact on a scene, if not just for like a few seconds. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't, but it's definitely like thematic in its own way. There's the thing
Yeah.
that's happening. I mean, it could have been more like the sound, trumpet string kind of a thing, doing a fanfare like smoothish, heroic kind of thing more than anything else.
yeah, it is. It also
You
could
know.
be just like stock melodies for heroes as well. A little bit later, we hear this other theme that actually sounds to me like a combination of the Bad Batch theme and the Noble Clone theme. It almost sounds, it's like at around 1808. It goes. Sorry. There we go. It like almost sounded like something was like flipped or, like I'm trying to think of why it sounds like both. It's like,
Yeah.
Do you hear
'cause it's
it?
Like yeah.
like the Bad Batch theme has that perfect fourth, thing. So it's like,
Yeah, I remember thinking the same thing watching this episode.
Interesting,
Now that I'm
okay.
hearing it. It's like, oh look, it's the Bad Batch theme, but it's
then not.
not. Like invoking it, kind of. It's
And
like
then the way it goes down is like almost like the Noble Clone theme. So
yeah,
it's like,
it's like the perilous Bad Batch theme. It's like perilous version, a danger version. They've
Yeah.
entered the danger zone, and they must. The theme must represent, in a downwards Kenny Loggins like transition. I don't know, but it makes sense. to me. The Kenny Loggins fourth. You all know this, right? No.
I'm just smiling and nodding.
Yeah, it's true that music specifically plays in those specific moments where the Bad Batch is deciding to go make sure everybody is gonna leave Lower Pabu. So I noticed that it doesn't, yeah, so it connects directly to their intention to save people. Yeah,
Yeah.
Batch and bad.
What just happened?
Nice.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness! Somebody's
Why are there
Xanthes.
two of me next to each other?
Nice.
Now I'm the background.
This is terrifying because just your mouth is in between the gaps between all of us. It's just,
Really, Wyatt?
that's terrifying.
I'm sorry. I'm covering my mouth.
Your mouth isn't
Very
terrifying. The
unsettling,
fact
yeah.
that your mouth is there is what's terrifying.
Yeah. Unexplainable natural phenomena.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm actively trying to fix it, but I don't know exactly what is going on at the moment. So right now, you just have me like this. You're welcome. Nope.
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 Control Z.
That's
Control Z.
better. It's different, but it's better. Okay. Anyway, so we might hear that again. Who knows? But the fact that it happens, I mean, because we've heard the Noble Clone theme come up so much this season, and we've heard the Bad Batch theme come up a lot in kind of various iterations. I just liked it as a potential altered version of the theme. Altered for the scene. I like it when they do that. And it led into a Dies Irae moment.
Yep. Good old DSA.
Yep. That was around 1840.
That's like a Danny Elfman.
Yeah. Getting Horner Titanic, the sinking vibes at tides rocking Omega's boat. I have never listened to that soundtrack. I should do that. Chuck, what reminded you of it? What vibes do you think you were detecting? Also, does everyone know what Dies Irae is? Let us know in chat if you want an explanation of that. But it was definitely like a repetitive Dies Irae ostinato, the repeating element in the strings, of course, at the moment of high peril. It didn't last too long, but I feel like it was unmistakably there.
So yeah, it's not quite the exact like melody of the Dies Irae, but it's definitely doing that dun 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 kind of thing where the Dies Irae in itself will go da 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 da.
Yeah.
Generally, I mean that's just the first note of like a much longer Gregorian chant, but that's the part
Yeah.
everyone knows is da 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 da. Yep.
But here it was. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't exactly. It was like there was some play with, a few more turns at the beginning. Like, so at the very end. Probably.
Yeah.
The vibe was there. And if you go to this YouTube channel called Film Music Tropes, that is Alex Ludwig's channel. Alex is the Dies Irae guru. And he has supercuts of Dies Irae in film and TV, lots of them. And the way that he categorizes them as either a Dies Irae like type 1, type 2, or type 3. And this would be what he calls a type 3, which is like often, ostinato, often just those 4 notes. And it even counts sometimes in his book if it's like inverted or if it's really close like this, where he feels that there's still enough, evidence sometimes for it to count as a Dies Irae. If it's maybe, obviously trying to evoke that. Context matters, of course, but I think he would probably I think he would probably count this one.
What a good reference. That's great.
Yeah. Also, he was just on the show talking about Empire Strikes Back minutes. So toward the end of this episode, Liana falls and Omega, kind of helps get her to safety. They both help each other. They're like, we need to get out of here, etc. Hunter saves them. And then, it ends with them perhaps staying for a little bit. And a more more tech, fee, action.
Pre-action.
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 Well, that's the part they're
Pre-
showing on screen.
Pre-actionary shipments.
Chuck says pounding percussion danger with a distraught emotional peril melody. That's a good description.
Trademark.
Yeah. Distraught emotional peril
Emotional
melody.
peril melody. Trade TM
I like
on
that. That's like the briefing, the composer briefing. Give me a pounding percussion danger with a distraught emotional peril melody, please.
That's
That actually is, it's not a bad description.
that's vaguely descriptive enough
Of
and
many
specific
things.
enough, that you could do something with that.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to move
that
on?
feels like that feels like one of those
Going
situations where
back,
a director would tell you that, and then you'd give them that, and they'd be like, "Yeah, but not that." And you're like, but that's what you asked for. You wanted loud drums with perilous melody. Yeah, but not
Yeah, just
that
try it
loud
again.
drums. Give me 5
yeah.
more. Oh, okay.
What were you
Sure.
saying, Christina?
Going back to so just during the avalanche episode, we talked a lot about white noise, and so they basically used again white noise to illustrate the sound of the ocean during the tsunami. So I made a note at like 1911 was when the ocean when Omega looks back and sees that the big wave is coming. And what the way that they sonically illustrated that was just to take the white noise. They started it when it sounds like the ocean is being sucked away. It's like a low white noise.
Like the.
And then as Omega looks back, the pitch raises as you like implying that you're seeing that it's actually a wave coming. So it goes,
Yeah.
and you hear that, and that's when the camera pans over to the wave, and you see, oh, okay, there's actually a wave coming. It's not just scary wind. And what you're hearing there, I assume, is the wind, actually.
Yeah, it gives you that sense of something is getting closer by like raising the threshold on that white noise kind of thing. Something is getting closer and closer, like a cup filling up kind of
Yeah.
a thing. As less space, you get a higher kind of a thing.
Is that Doppler
Yeah.
effect?
No, I think that's just Doppler effect.
That's
like
distance.
that's a distance thing.
That's the
Movement
opposite.
distance.
Is that Doppler effect? As it gets further away, it's
Well, I think you can still call it a Doppler effect if it's approaching you.
This is a cavity getting smaller, so there's
Yeah.
less
Yeah.
resonance. I mean, there's less frequency.
It's a different parameter being changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is
And I think that they use sort of similar tech. I was trying to figure out, I don't know if you have any advice about what the techniques they are using, like at 22, 23, when the tsunami's like actually about to hit Pabu. It reminded me, I was tricked a little bit. I realized that the early warning system foghorn thing does play in that moment again, so we hear it. But oh yeah, I see we have an echo. But it seems like there's essentially that I mean, I was trying to think, what does the tsunami sound like in the moment, I guess, and
Sounds
it
like people
reminds me of
screaming.
what. Yeah, it makes me think like, but I think it might. What it made me think of here was that it sounds like what a tornado would sound like in the moment, because a tornado sounds like a train going
What?
around you.
Or
So you
loud.
actually hear a pitch, like a really loud, like so the train is made of two different sounds basically. There's the of the wheels on the track,
Yeah.
and then there's the of the like
Whistle?
combination of the steam and the like train moving through air. It makes like a higher pitch. So and I was thinking, okay, well, how could we relate that to what the tsunami would be doing? And I guess the tsunami would, I think, be an unearthly low pitch, and what we would be hearing is the overtones of that really low pitch. But then I guess the other thing that you would be hearing is air getting pushed away so quickly that it would make a really, really high pitched sound, I think, because the big wave is coming. It's pushing all the air away and towards you and up, right? So you would hear this kind of
Yeah.
sound, and um, and at the same time, the sort of undescribable sound of water, of like a lot of water, which I think would be kind of like that train tornado sound. Uh,
I've
so
never thought that tornadoes, I mean, I've never been in a tornado. I've just never expected that to be what tornadoes sounded like.
yeah,
That's
They're wild.
horrifying.
That's wild. Yeah.
yeah, they're extremely horrifying. Add to your list of disasters
Oh,
not to experience.
oh, I'm terrified of tornadoes. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're scary.
So I'm looking at how to detect tsunami by the sound. And I'm on a Scientific American article and whatever. Someone is being
Hmm.
quoted. Someone who, let's see, he's especially interested in the acoustic gravity waves that tsunami generating earthquakes produce. I guess that would be earthquakes preceding the tsunami, which is often what happens. These underwater sound waves have such low frequencies that gravitational forces can alter their wavelength and speed. I'm trying to process this as I read it. Under a sudden change in pressure. In theory, these sound waves' distinct properties could allow scientists to tease them out from oceanic background noise. Without acoustic gravity wave theory, you can say for sure there's an earthquake, but you can't say there's a tsunami. Interesting. So sound
Mm.
can be a really, and not to get too off topic, but oftentimes when people graphically represent, visualize data as music, it is often like such a gimmick where it's like, oh, look, this earthquake made this piece of music. Yay, it's a piece of music, and
Oh
the
yeah.
earthquake made it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
those usually really just bug me. I'm like, who? Okay, great.
Not quite.
But I'm like, what's more interesting is using musical tools, not to try to have things make your music for you, but to use music, and you don't even have to frame it as music, the way, whatever, but to utilize sound and the unique properties that can be observed about sound in order to, you know, show us data in a more easily recognizable way. And this would be like an example of that. Like
Yeah.
a way to, if you keep tracking the movement of whatever and you are tracking it and having it represented through music, the point of it isn't that you're making a piece. The point of it is like that you're using it for this purpose, and it's fine. It's okay for that to be the purpose. You don't have to make everything
Right.
into a TikTok. But anyway, another answer that I'm seeing of what a tsunami sounds like while it's approaching is okay. Let's see. Oh no, I just clicked. I shouldn't have clicked. Okay, let me just look at the summary. Okay, when a tsunami is approaching the shore, it typically makes a loud roaring sound similar to that of a train or a jet aircraft. The front of the wave will break as it gets closer, creating a continuously breaking wave that can be heard even high up from air. Once it arrives, debris may start to pick up and make crunching noises like houses and cars. Anyway, I don't want to be in one. So,
Let's not.
yeah, let's not do that. Yeah, so that's the tsunami from episode 13. Chuck is Parallel Melody also has a rising turbulent shape to it. Nice.
Ray Horner-esque. Newton
Mm-hmm.
Howard.
Yeah.
All right, episode 14, Tipping Point.
Tipping point. I got a sound for you all.
Okay.
Got a sound for you all. What is this sound? Okay. Well, though, actually, I messed it up to do the noise example, so hopefully this is like the same. Wait.
That's
that's
so
the
good, Justin.
That's the sound. Anyone know what that is?
It's that
It's
The stun grenade?
torture
hey,
thingy. That's
It's
the.
the
okay.
Oh yeah, it's
It's
the torture droid.
it's the hey, I got an idea. Let's take a ball and put a needle on it, droid.
yep.
From a new
It's the They
the
called it an interrogator droid.
right, but it's just
Interrogator
like
droid.
I love how it's just so blatant. It's just like let's have a big like
Dr.
floating
Bumblebee.
orb and let's just put a syringe attached to it.
Because we can't do that ourselves. It's just
Right.
gotta like. I
Like,
wonder
if
what else.
What if we floated this thing towards you that has just a doctor's needle? And that was obvious. It was such a cheap. It's from A New Hope, right?
Yeah.
Originally,
Yeah.
and
Wait,
it's
why do you
just
think
I
it was
love
cheap,
how
though?
like. No, I'm saying like it's kind of like a cheap prop to add. Like it almost like it's like they spray painted a ball and put some little things on it, and then they just like took an actual just
Oh,
like
I see.
syringe.
You mean
and just
originally it was
added-
just yeah.
Yeah, it's a very cheap prop that I always thought was just such a like ridiculous, intimidating idea.
It,
But
you're right. It's funny. It's like in this advanced galactic civilization of technology, they can't administer the torture drug themselves. They needed to get the droid. I mean, so it makes me wonder what I mean, in my own morbid curiosity, like what else is this droid doing? Is it just injecting them? Is it doing, because it kind of implied in this episode that it stayed there with like the injection and it was doing something. Like it didn't show it. It was just kind of ominously there. And then it's got like what are those, like forceps or something in its head background? Like is it a medical type droid? Like what is it? What is the point of it? But the sound is pretty cool. So it was easily recreated one. It's basically three things, which is great. It's oh wait, this one. Go ahead. It's this high pitch mixed
Do you have an LFO?
with like this like low growl kind of a thing that's been high passed, and then you mix them together and you got the filter of an LFO moving.
Question. So do you have two separate oscillators,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
the LFO is applied to both of them together?
Yeah, they're both mixed together and then routed through a filter, which we talked about earlier.
Nice.
And then I put the LFO is the like making the filter move.
Got
kind of
it.
thing. And that simple sound, and then it itself had a weird like kind of like voice to itself, like affirmative voice, that it was emitting
pitch
when
is
it
that?
when it did that. Which
What
one?
pitch is that one right there.
A. Oh,
So it's
that one's B
It's
flat.
also in A New Hope. It's also an A.
Well, this one's a B flat.
Oh, well, hold on. I can change that.
Whatever the pitch is.
Better. Yeah. It's the same one.
I mean, yeah.
pitches
So it's
in this,
establishing
it's
it
the
that that's the same. It's the same device.
Yeah.
It is definitely the same.
Yeah, and similar. The klaxon is the same one as well.
Yeah,
When
and
you
we hear
watch
the
the
klaxon
droid in
alarm.
an-
Oh, go ahead.
Well, when you watch the droid in A New Hope, I think it gets a little faster by the end of it. Like the rotating gets faster than it does in Bad Batch, or Bad Batch. Which is funny. I also I just watched it and it's like it like looks like it's being hung on a string, which is also funny, like the way that it's moving. And it just I guess my initial reaction to it as an adult watching it is just like very like it looks so like a cheap balloon that they like glued a syringe on. It's just so silly to me.
You feel this way when you
so
watch it
silly
in
to
A New
me.
Hope.
Yeah, it's almost like I'm like, what if we had like a box and I just like taped a gun to it? That's what it feels like. It's like
It's a robot now.
murder robot. And it has like a gun tape, like a duct tape to it. It's like, look at how dangerous this thing is. It's got a gun on it. You know, that's kind of what this thing feels like. Look at how dangerous this ball is. It's got a needle on it. Watch out for that needle ball. You know, very
think-
silly idea.
I think that's Well, in an effort to like purposely take it extremely seriously and be like, okay, they definitely had a reason for it. I could see that. So something that makes no sense is inherently sort of distressing. So that's a good torture technique component. If you're going to torture someone, have this thing that makes no sense coming at them. But the other torture technique that is used frequently in movies is increasing the not the frequency, but or just increasing the speed at which you hear a sound as you approach the moment of the torturous device interacting with you.
Interesting.
So yeah, like I just saw a really good and horrible torture scene where this lady was gonna use tweezers to pull out some body parts of this person. And basically, as she approaches, she is clicking the tweezers. I don't know if you can hear my tweezers clicking, but as she approaches, she clicks the tweezers much quicker, and then she's clicking them really quickly, and that's when she pulls the body part out. And that's like a pretty standard technique because then just the sound of
Yeah.
the increasing the more quickly going tweezers or the more quickly going interrogator droid causes so much fear,
Yeah.
which you see Crosshair experience. Crosshair is like got himself together most of the time. He does not react to stuff, but he was clearly afraid just from the increase
It's
the sort of
anxiety inducing,
imminent
right?
doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it also creates this inevitability thing because the whole point is to get him to think that it's inevitable that he's going to talk, so that he just talks. So if it's like it creates this pattern of like, okay, okay, it's gonna happen, and it happens. It's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and it happens. And
Yeah.
eventually, he's just kind of trained to think there's no hope.
It's fair. I think that example you told. I haven't seen this movie you talked about or the show.
It's in his Dark
Which I think
Materials, yeah.
I do think it's kind of funny to think that like you're gonna click your tweezers faster as you're about to pull. It seems, which is like completely counterproductive to like accurately tweezing something out of something. If I want to tweeze something, I should keep them absolutely still so I can actually grab the thing I'm trying to grab. But regardless, the other thing I'm also wondering about is like what is physically happening with this droid in this episode that like what is increasing? What is that the sound of exactly? Or is
Yeah.
it like a proximity detector? Is that what it is? Maybe we're hearing, it's kind of like a metal detector. It speeds up as you're getting closer to the thing that you're trying to find, right? Is that what this is? It's like the sound of maybe this is the droid's proximity detector that's like, oh, I'm getting closer to the thing I'm about to inject. Like, is that, what is our theories for what the sound actually is of? Like, what's the function of the speeding up? Or is it literally just an
Psychological
anxiety
terror.
inducer? You think it's
I
an
think that.
anxiety?
Yeah.
I-
I've heard
I think it
about a
is.
study and I hope I'm remembering the results of it correctly, but I think it was like when you're about to do something painful, like get a shot or something, it hurt, it hurts more when you go into it being like, okay, here it comes. Okay, we're 3 inches away. Like when you are preparing it hurts. Like I think this was measured, unless I made this up or dreamed it, where like that caused more pain than just being like,
'Cause you flex
oh
your
yeah, how are you
muscles.
doing? All right. Oh look, it's already in there and we're done. Like just being distracted and just like doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you flex your muscles when you're anticipating pain. And having a flexed muscle when you're getting an injection increases pain.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
And so what
Yeah.
oftentimes a doctor will want to actually surprise you with like do it when you're not expecting because you'll be less likely to tense up. I'm gonna counter it and say that my theory is it's a proximity detector. That's my theory. I think it's trying to figure out where the subject is so it can inject. What do you think it's injecting into him exactly? Just a little pain juice?
Yeah. Probably some high potency pain juice. And
Give him the pain juice. Bring the pain juice ball.
High potency
Hi.
pain juice.
high potency pain juice.
We also know that the
ITO's injection
Empire,
reservoirs
Gravity.
could be filled with the latest drugs engineered by Imperial experts. The droid could perform interrogation by itself or in conjunction with living questioners. It was designed with an emotionless personality to ask questions in flat monotone. When working with a living assistant, the ITO would often say nothing at all, thus making the prisoner fear and hate the droid, while viewing the living interrogator as a source of potential mercy.
Ah, so it's supposed to be this like it's
Bad
like
cop.
thing that, yeah, it's the bad cop.
We
the
also
bad
know
cop,
from Andor
worst
that
cop.
the Empire has like a lot of interest in sonic torture
For sure.
techniques, and so it's possible that the droid is like a large round ball, just so it's like a really high quality speaker of some kind. So, so the sound it's just like a really good Bluetooth speaker. That's the whole vibe.
We had the recurrence of this theme that we heard in episode 11, I believe. We heard it in all over this episode, and it was like this set of 2 themes. I'm paying juice now available at Galaxy's Edge. Yeah, that's for sure. Where it was, I'll play it. Let me just put on a normal sounding. And then related to that is, and then there's like a kind of an ostinato thing that goes along with that, like a sort of vamp that goes along with that too. And you'll probably recognize it. It's like, it's kind of like I think we were saying like the Twilight Zone thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always associated with hemlock and this cloning Tantus. Very eerie sounding, and hemlock is very scary.
He's very terrifying. I think it has a lot to do with how he delivers his lines. Right. It's like it's not necessarily monotone, but it's got
He's very calm.
It's very
And
calm,
very
and there's not
ASMR-y for sure.
yeah, and it's very slow and pointed, and doesn't
Controlled.
raise much in pitch or get lower. It just is to the fact, and this is what it is. It's just it's
Unaffected,
fascinating.
emotionless. Yeah. I had
He
a question for
resonates
you,
his C's.
Justin. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say that he resonates his C's very well. I almost was gonna do like a guess that moment where he uses a lot of C's, where he has a very
Like he articulates the
thing. Like there's
sound.
this
Yeah.
yeah, and he knows how to use punctuate. Like it's like he uses punctuate. What am I trying to say? He uses consonants to punctuate his sentences very cleverly.
Oh, what's the sentence that you're thinking of?
I should have just written it down and actually done it,
Do you
but
remember if it was toward the beginning or end? I mean, he was in
if
the whole episode,
I
so it could be anywhere.
yeah, it's kind of tough to pinpoint that,
That's okay.
but let me if I can
I'll
find
k-
it, I'll let you know.
Because the other person who has really spectacularly scary and specific diction is Tarkin, whom we also hear. And so hearing them talk together is like, oh my God. Like Tarkin's like, we've been routing them out.
I know. I wrote Tarkin rolls all of his R's, every
Yeah.
single R in that whole thing. The rogue elements have been routed,
Yep.
and then I expect a full briefing. This is every R he has is rolled,
Yeah.
which is just great.
Ralph Atanasia from Cake Boss, who has been on Star Wars Music Minute for Tarkin Minutes, calls them his malicious trills. Which I think is a good-
Trills.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that he does that's so scary is that there's a lot of in his voice. He uses that like, tell me how to find Clone Force 99. I
Like
can't.
aspiration.
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
Talks
like I guess
this
Vader.
about everything.
What if Vader's
Tell us
voice
how to
was based on this
define
voice?
Clone War 99 this is how he talks about everything. All of his sentences sound very close to the mic and very calm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and it's got that
Yeah.
deep. He's like in this register the whole time. If you would just tell me, I'm gonna keep torturing until you break. You know, that's like
Yeah.
It's like he's not really whispering. He's like a step above a whisper on everything.
Yeah.
He never talks like this. He's never like, you know, he talks like this. This is the way he says everything.
Yeah, and the beauty and the power of the benefit of this being a show and not in real life is that in real life, I don't think that would project very much. Actually, I don't think you could get away with it. But it's sort of like whisper singing now. You can do that with just close micing a singer who's just whisper singing, which on stage that's not going to carry without mics. But because it can be, you know, mic'd, because it can just be mixed to match the level, it sounds way more scary because he doesn't have to project.
In real life, everybody would just be like, "What?
Yeah.
Wait, say it again?
Yeah.
What'd you say?"
Exactly.
I will do that until you break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin, I had a question for you.
That's the word. He's
Murmuring? You're very
murmuring,
quiet.
what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Justin, I have a question for you. At 1514, when after he dispenses the toxin or whatever, and he goes sort of like, I've built an immunity to it. You, however, have not. And then obviously there's like reverb delay. His voice gets like, it gets weird there.
Hold on. I just went to 1514 in episode 13, and I was just like, I hear chittering and chattering of Munoz. Like, what happened? Hold on. 1514, you said?
Yeah, might as well start at 1510 or something. Or 1505. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You, however, have not.
Yeah, so what they're doing is, I mean, they're affecting his voice as it's kind of like, so Crosshair's going in and out, he's being affected by the toxin, so it's very much coming from like Crosshair's like point of view and
Exactly.
his hearing. And I don't know if anyone's been on like laughing gas from the dentist or something like that, but I definitely distinctly remember in those moments in my life pitches changing, people's voices changing and stuff like that, and they'll get low and stuff like that and drawn out.
Seriously? Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
remember. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is very similar to if you've seen Batman Begins. Whenever the Scarecrow administers his scaring gas.
Yeah.
Very similar vocal effect every time his victims are under the gas. Their voices have this very similar effect when they start hearing people talk.
Totally, yeah. And the other thing that's going on is they've got a tremolo effect, but it's panned. So you're getting so tremolo being like a wavering. Depending on your instrument, tremolo can mean many different things. But in sound design world, like that's an echo.
Yeah.
A tremolo would be a delay. A tremolo would be a fast up and raising and lowering of volume, kind of a thing. Whereas in guitar world, the tremolo is like a either rapid picking, like in strings, or it's a pitch thing at times. Yeah. Yeah, kind of thing. So you got the echo, but it's also like getting panned back and forth between your ears. So you're getting this kind of a thing. So you feel things moving otherworldly. It's almost like your ear is like not working one at a time, kind of a thing. And it just creates this dizzying effect.
Like a ping pong delay.
Yeah, like a ping pong delay. Ping pong delay. So like the echo would bounce between your ears.
Wow.
Yeah.
You, however, have not. But then it cuts off. The filter cuts off. You, however, have not. Well,
Yep.
I can't really do it myself, but
But yeah, that's
you
the
get
idea.
point.
Yeah, totally. it's actually really such a great scene too, because the music is so indicative of what's going on. I mentioned swarms earlier in this stream, and this is what I was going to talk about. The strings here all do a tremolo effect as the gas is coming through it, and it's got this kind of like gassy swarm feel. Like all the strings kind of rise up and they do this thing, and it's just these like little sputterings of these like stutters and tremolos, and then eventually as he like hits the ground, it's like lower strings doing it, and then it's just the vocal effect. It's a really nice a way to kind of represent visually and sonically what's happening at the same time.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to listen back to the string part. So there is that dee 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 dee.
And then there's like a synthesizer. Wow.
What's your timestamp for that?
If you go to like 1420,
Okay.
like right as the, well, you have to hide. He sends the mission, so 1425.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm hearing the noble clone type of theme. The door opens. Yeah, it's definitely a tremolo on the bridge.
Yeah. And then right as Hemlock walks in, it's like a synth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Low filtering kind of a thing.
It's sul ponticello, which means playing it on the bridge, which is like this is the spot where you normally put the bow, is like this middle spot, between the bridge and the fingerboard. You can also play just on the fingerboard, and you can also play like pretty much right on top of the bridge. That's called sul ponticello, and so it would be the difference between. And I hate this. I actually hate doing this technique. It's really like you get like it sounds kind of glassy.
Yeah. And it's got these weirder harmonics to it. Yeah, I love that technique actually.
I know composers like to write it, and I just don't like to play it.
Just like we
But it's
love
fine.
what's
I'll
it? The snap pizzicatos. What are those called again?
Yeah, the snap pits, the Bartok pits.
Yeah, we love
Yeah.
those, and
Yeah,
everyone
and the
else
string
hates them
players are like,
because-
"Oh, this is my new set of strings."
Yeah, and you just snap your strings so hard that they physically
or that they
hit your
detune.
instrument.
That
And
they
they
detuned for, you have to retune. Chuck brought up something that I wanted to say too. First of all, Gary's 24 fan, thank you. Just saying hello. Sorry, I've not joined you recently, but had a trying 2023 already. I'm sorry, and I hope your 2023 picks up. But Xanthe loved the echo. I love that was the compliment. Thank you. My echo we're very proud of it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay, so Chuck says, kind of like force Skype in TLJ. And that's exactly what I was thinking too. So I pulled up a quote from the sound designers of how they did the sound in TLJ. Of course, we're talking about Kylo and Rey's, their little force connection. Okay, so in TLJ, this is what they did. We used a technique of reversal where we took a line of his dialogue or a line of her dialogue and reversed it. Let me actually just put a screenshot so people can read it as well. Screenshot from my notes, so sorry about the sound check. The spell check. We took a line of his dialogue or a line of her dialogue and reversed it. Then we added reverb and delay effects to their dialogue, then reversed the processed dialogue again and edited that ahead of the sound. So you hear a pre-lap, if you will. We used audio eases, altiverb, blah, blah, blah. We used some stock, okay, whatever. We layered those sounds and offset them against each other to create that texture. Then lastly, using the Atmos surround field, we panned the sounds around the theater, which is kind of what Justin was saying, like panning. Mm-hmm. And that helped a lot as well because you hear the sound not only approaching you, but moving around the movie theater. It's moving around the audience's head and hopefully giving a sense that something is coming toward them. So yeah. I don't know if I heard the pre-lap here where it was like him saying, "You, however, have not." Then you would have heard like, "Not you." I don't know if I heard that. But I did. Obviously, the reverb and delay are are present here. But I agree that it comes off in a similar way. Gas sound
Yeah.
comes in on the left surround and then right surround as gas pours in from the ceiling. Cool. Cool. Okay, so continuing on in this episode, then we go back to Pabu, and the music there again goes back to this sort of pastoral type of thing. If you check
Little
in at
little
Yeah.
fanfare too, as you like we see the island for the first time again.
Yeah. If you go to like 1522, it's this very, to me, optimistic sounding thing that reminds me of Peter and the Wolf. And The Simpsons, both at the same
The
time.
Simpsons. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's like super Lydian and everything. And then, yeah, I'm optimistic, simple, new frontier, Americana, etc. Nice to see Echo again.
Echo.
I really liked their reunion. I like,
It was a nice reunion. I like
Yeah.
how Omega's happy to see everyone, and Tech just shows up and is like, "You need help?
yeah,
What do you want?" You called for help. Anyone else also noticed that after she pulls off what is she called the tech turn?
yeah, I love that.
They do the tech turn thing. You get some cool flying sounds and stuff. And then when Echo and her like race to the landing pad, Echo just like does this nice landing, and then Omega just like lands on top of people, and they're all like running away. And they're like, "Wow, there's a ship on top of us!" And she just kind of drops down on everybody.
See that.
Yeah, but I like that bit because it showed a little bit of, growth. She's been practicing. Yeah. And Echo feels much more like a separate character now, like an actual character.
Yeah.
So that's nice to see.
Yeah, watching them race and watching Omega grow gives me hope that if Omega is then captured by Hemlock, that she's so strong on her own in a way that she could be the badass who escapes, uh, yeah, by themselves somehow.
Yeah. It is nice seeing Omega's self-sufficiency here. I mean, we're seeing kind of the two sides of there are pros and cons to being raised by the Bad Batch, basically. She's developing all these skills where she can protect herself, she can fend for herself, she can really help in critical, she can actually like do stuff. But also she doesn't have that much like kid time. So I think we're just seeing those two, I don't know, seeing those two things kind of push and pull here. Any other thoughts on this episode?
We hear the klaxon alarm,
We
which is
do.
cool, but it's higher in pitch. I always got to point out that alarm because I love that alarm.
Higher in
you
pitch
hear
than
the-
what?
Then it's we generally hear it. I should have gotten the actual pitches.
It was around an F.
It's higher than what we usually hear, like the traditional imperial. If here's my bad imitation, but if the traditional one goes woo woo, this one was woo woo woo. It literally sounded like they took it and like sped it up on tape, like or on a record kind of a thing, where it's like not only a little bit faster, but it's high. It's not higher in pitch, but it's also a little bit faster because they just like made it faster in a sense. I've been playing a lot with like tape cassettes lately and stuff and tape loops and things like that. So it's funny like how by literally moving electronic or magnetic tape slower across the tape head, it produces such weird unintelligible sounds, and you have to be at the exact right speed to the like micro rotation for it to be the pitch that you want. And you could be listening to entire tapes at a slightly lower pitch than intended and not even realize it if it's just slightly bit off, or if your machine is like a half an RPM off kind of a thing. It's crazy.
Wow.
To think, I remember that with like listening with my record player too. But one of my record players plays a little bit faster than normal, so I have to actually set it at like 2% slower than it naturally rotates at for the pitches to be what at least my reference to the digital copies of the songs I had,
You're right.
kind of a thing. And then I went down a whole rabbit hole of like, well, what is pitch? What is these things? Have I even ever heard this song actually how it's supposed to be played? Like, what are these things? Do we really know? What if everything is wrong? And then, I just gave up and said, it's okay, Justin. Don't worry about these things. Every song is wrong. Everything is wrong. You never know. It could
You're
have been
ruining
a
my
slightly
childhood.
recorded at a wrong tempo of a rotation. So all we know is everyone has a different tuning of the same song.
Oh my gosh.
Fascinating.
All right.
Everyone's perception is their own reality.
It's true. It's
We
true.
got a lot of glassy crosshair theme comes through. Tarkin rolls as ours. Interrogation droid. Those are my notes. Oh, the data banks. I like how there are a lot of great sounds at the beginning of the episode. We have this like big orchestral music for the rescue mission. Wasn't quite heisty, but it was still like dun, 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 dun. It's giving it that kind of a vibe. I love the leech pod, how it just like bores onto
Wait, what's the leech pod? Okay.
the leech
a great
vessel
name.
thing, and it just like bores a hole into the thing, and they just save everybody. But the data banks, when Echo is trying to like get the data as they're like erasing it, kind of thing, it's got all these like fun little blips and bloops, and then as you see the meters go down, I always found it funny. Like we need the sonic representation with the visual representation. If the meter's going down, we have to hear the doo. We have to hear that. In this case, with the data being erased, it's like it's kind of this like weird.
It's like when you
glitchy
empty your
kind of
Mac
thing.
trash can. It's like
Right. Just going
Great
down. I
sound.
thought that was interesting. Again, we have to like a sound design Mickey Mousing. Not like musically Mickey Mousing, but like sound design Mickey Mousing.
well, isn't everything sound almost
Like, yeah, exactly, right? I mean, that's like, but like,
Foley is sound
I don't
Mickey
know.
Mousing.
I don't know. Deleting something could be like, ba-doop, it's deleted.
True.
Kind of a thing.
But yeah, you're talking about like a digital interface, like
Yeah.
or a digital. I mean, these aren't sound designs to real physical elements, right? You're talking about a digital.
Exactly. So these
sounds.
designs were like chosen to represent something.
Yeah.
Kind
To
of a
make it
thing.
more tactile, to make it more
Tactile.
to make it more obvious what's happening. I mean, have you ever just watched someone like do a bunch of stuff on their phone or on the computer without sound? If you're just like watching things you might not even be sure what's happening because so much is happening so fast and there's so many subtle little things. I feel like to represent just like modern day just digital interface in a movie would be very unsatisfying to watch. How much, and so much of it would happen like under the hood too.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you're doing like macros on your keyboard. You have like a shortcut here. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What just?
Well,
happened?
what's distracting whenever I watch Ted Lasso, is like first of all, everyone has an iPhone in that show because it's on Apple. Like it's on Apple TV. Like that's why you go watch that show and see if you find any device
No,
in
you're
that
right.
show
It
that
is
is
all
not
Apple.
an Apple device. There's not a single Windows computer or a Google phone or anything like that. And the other thing is that they go out of their way to use the Apple notification sounds at any point in time. Like all their ringtones are standard Apple sounds. All the text messages are the standard text message. Like the sound design of that show for the Apple devices is like it goes out of your way to subconsciously advertise Apple digital products, which is really distracting. So yes.
I would say it wasn't distracting since I have an Apple products. So probably hearing them, I probably didn't even question it. I was just sort of like, yeah, that's the notifications. Yeah. Like the shorthand worked for me because I have Apple products. But if I didn't, then I don't know how that would even come off.
Well, I would say no. I promise you, you will not see anybody use another type of device in this show.
But I think I have heard this, that Apple doesn't allow bad guys, like baddies, to have iPhones.
For other people's media, for like
Oh,
if
I
you
see what you're
use,
saying.
but not
okay.
in an not an Apple TV show. You'll see.
Okay, so West Ham guys have
Um,
iPhones.
Oh yeah, everyone's got iPhones in the.
If you're a
the Ted
bad guy,
Lasso
you can't have an
universe.
Apple product.
I mean, like if another movie wants to use Apple products, they need to check how the character is. They don't want
Right.
they don't want villains in other movies. Like they don't want the villain in the Batman to have an iPhone.
Right, and you
So
can't
wild.
show.
I
Like,
know, it is
you
wild.
can't show. You can't show an iPhone like malfunctioning or.
What?
Like,
That's
I believe
hilarious.
that. Yeah.
iPhone would not like if you want to explicitly have an Apple logo on your device in a show, it can't. You cannot show the device itself either being used for evil or malfunctioning or like yeah, absolutely.
Gotta protect your image.
Wow.
Jeez.
Wow, if only
Yeah.
they saw my iPhone.
So no, for me it's
All the
distracting
evil
with the Ted
things.
Lasso thing because it's because the notifications are my same notifications, so I often find myself
distracted.
like checking
Like
my
it's not
stuff,
me.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. Ryan Johnson said baddies not allowed to have Apple devices created spoilers in Who Done It, like
Yeah.
Knives Out.
Yep. Yep. And I forget there was some solution that he came like I think it was that either everybody had iPhones in Glass Onion or nobody had iPhones. I forget which one it was, but he solved that by giving everybody the same type of device or something like that. Or no, it must have been that nobody had
Androids.
iPhones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if Apple is that stringent upon that. So anyway.
Interesting. Well, anyway, the next time that we'll be streaming will be for the season finale episodes, the final 2 episodes. And it's next week because they're coming out at the same time.
There are 3 Star Wars episodes coming out next Wednesday morning.
That's wild.
Which is
We're only going to
crazy.
be talking about 2 of them, the Bad Batch ones. But I'm kind of excited that at least I still maintain that this every 3 episode streaming schedule has coincidentally, like the chunks have lined up nicely to like kind
Yeah.
of little mini arcs. Like I feel like each chunk has been kind of like a perfect 3
For sure.
to talk about. And then the next one obviously will be just 2 and they're delivered on the same night. So obviously they're kind of meant to be consumed together. So that will be nice.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I mean, I guess it probably is true, but is this whole streaming schedule that they came up with like what was the reason for this schedule that they came up with? Like, because
Lord knows.
like I was trying to figure this out. I don't
They get it
know
done
because
before-
there was another week that they doubled up, wasn't there?
The first
first
week.
week, right?
First week, they did it twice. They did
Yeah.
the first week, and then they did it with the Senator episode.
Right. What's up with that?
I
wonder.
maybe did. I don't know. I feel like it was either to like have 2-part episodes next to each other, kind of a thing, and it might have also been like a scheduling thing in the sense of like we need to get this done, so we stop releasing the same like 2 shows on a Wednesday. But we really wanted to get Mandalorian season 3 official out, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So let's just
Yeah.
get this one done quick. Quicker.
Interesting.
Who
I can't
knows?
believe Mandalorian is already halfway through.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
We're already
that's wild.
halfway through season 3.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
The next 2 episodes are called The Summit and Plan 99. And then what is that thing that Crosshair said at the end of this episode? It was like Seeker 88 or something.
Plan 88 or something.
The Seeker.
Something like the Seeker.
And then, but what was the number? I think it was 88.
Yeah, I don't remember what that meant. I remember isn't that from season 1? Isn't that something?
And
that
for
we've
some
heard
reason, I
before?
thought, oh, there's another episode called The Seeker, but I don't know if that's actually true. And I don't know
remember what that was.
I don't know what Plan 88 is. So I hope we get to find that out. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how I want to know what happens with Omega if we find out more about her and such. if Crosshair reunites with the Bad Batch, which I'm kind of rooting for him. I know that not everyone is.
I am.
But I am.
I like
Yeah.
I
him.
am.
I am, of course. You gotta root for Crosshair, of course.
I mean, not everyone is rooting for Crosshair. So, Crosshair may be redeemed for some people, but not for others, which, we'll see how things end. I really think in the season finale of the first episode, he was towing this line where they almost got somewhere, but they didn't. And so
Right.
I just hope. Yeah. Plan 88 means they are being targeted. Okay. Yeah, it was 88, and the last episode is titled Plan 99, so we'll see. I guess they're going to go from 88 to 99. Anyway.
Oh, to 66. What
was 77?
Yeah, where is 77?
That's when Star Wars came out.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, so next week we'll have a lot to talk about. We'll have a wrap up to the show, and I'm excited. Yeah, so I guess that's it for today. See you all next week. Let's do our outro.